next door.
It was something that had to happen sometime. Piles of paper, books built up in the passageway from one room to another. She couldn't get in the front door properly.
3 more teenagers from High Wycombe, aged 19, 18 and 16, have been charged by police in connection with a shooting in the town earlier this month. Officers were called to the Lucas Wood area on May the 11th. A 17-year-old had already been charged. Polling stations will open at 7 this morning for European elections and council elections across Hertfordshire and in Milton Keynes. All the council seats in Milton Keynes are up for election. Councils voting in Hertfordshire include St Albans, Stevenage, North Herts and Watford, with a mayoral election also taking place in Watford. Some councils are holding counts tonight, others tomorrow. Counting for the European elections won't take place until Sunday. Doctors say the number of people who go to accident and emergency departments without requiring urgent care is much lower than NHS figures suggest. The College of Emergency Medicine says only 15% of patients who go to A&E could be treated elsewhere. Rail engineers say they're being forced to take industrial action against First Capital Connect. Unions claim that staff at the Caldwell depot in Bedford will be left without work when Siemens takes up the contract to build new Thameslink trains. Steve Smart is from the RMT.
With this contract, we want to see opportunities for the engineering staff who are employed at Caldwell to be able to follow the engineering work into the new contract, i.e. with Siemens. But we're getting no feedback from Siemens whatsoever.
In sport, the former Watford manager Gianfranco Zola has confirmed his interest in the vacancy at Norwich. Another former Watford manager, Malky Mackay, is also being strongly linked with the job. And practice starts this morning ahead of Sunday's Monaco Grand Prix. Hertfordshire's Lewis Hamilton leads the Drivers' Championship after winning the last 4 races. The weather, more rain this morning, which will turn heavy and thundery this afternoon. A maximum temperature 19 degrees Celsius. And you can get the latest news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties.
BBC Three Counties Radio's big tour of beds, hearts and bucks.
It's a large wildflower meadow, and it's my favourite meadow.
And all this week, we're featuring Wendover.
I like the fact that you can meet some really lovely people and they become very good friends.
It's all about where you live.
I think there's definitely a community spirit and it's getting bigger and bigger.
Good business, good friends.
The big tour of beds, hearts and bucks. BBC Three Counties Radio.
I am a highfalutin, tootin', shootin' son of the gun from Arizona.
Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. Look out, panic, civilians with guns. Oh, it's speed guns. Don't panic quite so much. A St Albans woman with piles of stuff. Sorry, I hadn't read the whole sentence. Sorry. And an answer for Tony in Milton Keynes. Target audience, Tony. 08459 455 555 is the phone number.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
Is BBC. Go away.
Yeah, that's not exactly what I wrote, but...
I made it better.
Yeah, you did make it slightly better.
I made it a significantly better by doing a joke about bums.
Well, yeah.
Hands up who's had piles. Guys? Come on, you've had babies, Kath. You must have had piles.
No. I managed to keep that all together.
Hands up who's had to go to the hospital with piles, guys?
Just you?
Just me. Hands up who had to have a little bit of their bum sewn up.
OK. Hands up who thinks Ian's oversharing.
Is this all in the same event, or...?
It's kind of. The worst one was when I went in to have my piles checked out. It turned out I had, enjoy your breakfast, an anal fissure. It's a medical thing.
A fissure or a fistula?
A fissure.
OK. You don't want a fistula.
Well, as I was there, lying there, and if anyone's... And this is serious, OK? This is serious. We're making light of it. This is serious. If anyone's been to the bum doctor to have it inspected, OK, you lie... sideways, you lie on your side on the table with your knees up to your chest, your trousers round your ankles, and let's be honest, everything's exposed. Good morning.
I just want to say your producer has her head in her hands.
Because she's feeling sorry for me. When you're lying in that position...
She's feeling sorry for you because you may get sacked.
When you're lying in that position... No, this is a medical thing and we shouldn't be embarrassed about our bodies. Certainly not mine. When you're lying...
embarrassed about your body.
When you... I'm sorry, I'll stop acting it out and put my trousers back on. When you're lying in that position with a man who it turns out isn't actually a doctor...
Oh!
He's not a doctor. I don't think you call him doctor. He's just a bloke. And then he says, do you mind if some students come in and have a look at this? It's hard.
Medical students or just...
I don't know. They were about 12.
Studies.
No, it's hard. You can understand, it's hard in that position to retain integrity and control. And I found myself saying, no, I don't mind.
Yeah.
And they came in and one by one they had a little look.
But that's great because you really help those students learn that that's not what they want to do with their lives.
Do you know what? I think we're actually getting across a serious message.
The thing is, we actually are. I know that Kelly's smirking because she's a child and you're smirking because you're trying to appear younger than you actually are.
Wow. I've been in worse positions. I've been in worse positions a couple of times. And it's only skin.
The worst one...
It's just bits.
Well, sometimes it's not just skin. The worst one...
Oh, no.
Okay.
16 centimetre long camera. Up, not round the back. 16 centimetres.
Up periscope.
Up periscope! It was a real up periscope scenario. And you really do have to go to a happy place.
Yeah.
When that's happening.
Yeah.
You have to go to a happy place.
I mean, women have regular checks of a similar but not identical nature.
Oh, it's not as invasive,
and
I don't think.
it's very much about, the happy place.
Yeah.
This isn't happening.
Yeah.
The difficulty is when it's someone who knows your husband, who's... That happened once.
Wowzers. Was yours, the person who did it, was yours a doctor?
No, she was a nurse. And she said, there's only me here. Are you bothered? And I had to pretend to be blasé and go, nah, it's only bits, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was bothered.
It's funny, going back to the bottom inspections.
Back to you, yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
You've really opened up a can of worms.
They opened up something. It's funny sitting in the ward waiting to go in, because you see all these men and women striding in.
Oh.
And then they all kind of walk out like this.
Oh, no.
How was it? It was fine. It was fine. If you want to give us your stories about probings, 08459 455 555.
But just to get this back on track, if you are worried about whatever part it may be, go and see a doctor who's seen it all before.
Yeah, this fellow wasn't a doctor. He was not a doctor. He was just a bloke.
Was it the porter?
I don't know. Do you mind if some students come and look? Not really, no.
When I get off of this mountain, you know where I want to go. Straight down the Mississippi River to the Gulf of Mexico, to Lake Charles, Louisiana, little Bessie girl I once knew. And she told me just to come on by if there's anything that she could do. Up on Cripple Creek, she sends me if I spring a leak. She mends me, I don't have to speak, as she defends me. A drunken stream if I ever did see one. Good luck had just stung me. To the racetrack I did go. She bet on one horse to win, and I bet on another to show. The odds were in my favor. I had 'em 5-1. And that nag to win came around the track. Sure enough, we had won. Up on Cripple Creek, and she sends me if I spring a leak. And she mends me, I don't have to speak. She defends me, a drunkard's dream if I ever did see one. I took up all of my winnings, and I gave my little Bessie half. And she tore it up and threw it in my face, just for a laugh. Now there's one thing in the whole wide world I sure would like to see. That's when that little love of mine dips a donut in my teeth. Up on Cripple Creek, she sends me if I spring a leak. She mends me, I don't have to speak. She defends me, a drunkard's dream if I ever did see one. Me and my mate were back at the shack. We had Spike Jones on the box. She said, I can't take the way he sang, but I love to hear him talk. Now that just gave my heart a throb to the bottom of my feet. And I swore as I took another Says she can't be beat. Up on Cripple Creek, she sends me if I spring a leak. She mends me, I don't have to speak. She defends me, a drunkard's dream, if I ever did see one. No, no, Lord, Lord, Lord. There's a flood out in California, and up north is freezing cold. And this living off the road is getting pretty old. So I guess I'll call up my big mama, tell her I'll be rolling in. But you know deep down, I'm kinda tempted to go and see my Bessie again. Up on Cripple Creek, she sends me if I spring a leak. She mends me, I don't have to speak. She defends me, a drunkard's dream, if I ever did see one.
How can you guys not know the band, for goodness sakes? This is awesome. Look, he's got a yodel. He's yodeling. It's the drummer singing. I love bands where the drummer sings.
Apart from Phil Collins.
Apart from that, obviously.
No, he was good. Let's not be snobbish about it.
I like them. Did we do this before, or did I do this in another life? Bands that have their own walks. Because...
Madness
have got a walk. The Monkees have got the walk. Genesis have got their I Can't Dance walk.
Mm-hmm. My husband bought... not my husband. My dad bought my daughter... I know. My daughter a baby grow when she was born.
No.
And it said, I can't... It was a Genesis one. It said, I can't walk. But it was for like a massive baby. I don't think it'd fit her now.
Maybe it was for a grown-up. A drunk grown-up. Anyway, listen, it's on to more serious things. Bedfordshire Police are training civilians to catch speeding drivers. That's right. The Speed Watch scheme already underway in Luton, and with 40 volunteers met for a course in Shefford over the weekend, ready for deployment elsewhere in the county. They'll be equipped with speed guns and notepads, ready to take down your particulars. If they report you 3 times, man, you're in trouble. Catherine, you've been looking into this. How does Speed Watch work?
Well, the police say this is all about empowering communities to raise awareness of speeding and help control it locally.
So it's not to give the police less to do so that they save money. It's all about empowerment, right?
Well, okay. You remember last time we spoke to Ollie Martins, and the time before that, he was talking about how thin his blue line was.
Yes.
I think we can take that as read, that it's going to save them a bit of money. There just isn't the money or the manpower to give the roads the kind of police coverage that people living in areas where speeding's a problem would like. So the answer is for those people to think big society and volunteer, which is what's been happening, and why for the last week there have been civilians standing on roadsides around Luton zapping speeding motorists and writing down the date, time, colour, make, model and registration number of the vehicles. The registered keepers will then get a warning letter from the police. If it happens again, they'll get another warning letter from the police. 3 times though, further action, and I don't think that involves a letter.
No.
As I say, this started in Luton on Monday, but there are 40 people trained to pop up elsewhere in the county very soon.
Now, it's always good to make our roads safer, but I would imagine there are some people who aren't that keen about this.
Yeah, Brian Gregory from the Alliance of British Drivers, for one. He says speeding shouldn't be addressed by members of the public, but by professionals equipped to deal with it.
I don't think we're in favour of vigilante action, that's probably the best way of describing it. We believe that speed limits and their enforcement should be left to the people who are actually qualified to do that. And if there is a local problem with speed, then it should be addressed by engineering measures that make the road feel to the drivers involved like the speed limit is appropriate.
Oh, all right, Brian.
And he also thinks that far from making things better, it might actually make things worse in local communities.
I think it's likely to cause antagonism with other road users rather than actually provide a useful solution to a local problem.
What did the police say about Speed Watch Week?
Well, I can tell you what one police said. Sergeant Gary Kidd is the police officer in question. He's from the Biggleswade local policing team. They helped organise the event, and he told us this. Speed watches continue to grow across the county with more and more people wanting to do something positive for their community. Excessive speed on the roads is one of the most common issues raised by residents across Bedfordshire and has an impact not only on road safety but the quality of life of those who endure it. Community Speed Watch helps promote safer driving in our local communities by educating rather than prosecuting individuals Oh, that'll be what the letters are about. Data collection is passed to Bedfordshire Police, who may undertake further speed checks and result in drivers being prosecuted. So later on in the programme, we'll be talking to the Chief Inspector for Community Safety in the county, and we'll also be speaking to the Chair of Wrenhold Parish Council about how Speedwatch has been helping cut down the amount of speeding motorists through his village.
Catherine, excellent stuff. 08459 455 555.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Well, so far this morning, it's a rather quiet start across the three counties. We're not seeing any major problems or delays. We are expecting to see delays on the M1 Luton Spur between junction 10A for the Kidneywood roundabout and junction 10 for Luton Airport. Major roadworks taking place there, often causing many delays through the rush. So far, the M25 are moving well, and taking a look at the trains, no reported problems or delays. Nicola Richards, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much. It's 6:17. It's Thursday, the 22nd of May. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. Police in Bedfordshire say more and more people are signing up to carry out speed checks in their local area. The Alliance of British Drivers have described it as vigilante action. Neighbours of a St Albans woman who was injured in a fire at her home say it was an accident waiting to happen because of the amount of belongings she'd hoarded. And polling stations will open at 7 this morning for European elections and council elections across Hertfordshire and in Milton Keynes. If you want to take part in the show, I guess you can. I've not really checked the rules recently.
BBC Three Counties Radio. Roberto Perroni.
Gardeners wanting to rid their spring flower beds of snails can ditch the beer traps and eggshells and instead develop a strong throwing arm instead.
Weekdays from 3.
I don't think there's any ethical dilemma about throwing them as opposed to killing them. It's clearly better to throw them.
Hertfordshire Police are warning drivers to take extra precautions with their vehicles following a rise in the number of cars stolen using specialised hacking equipment. 2/3 of teachers say poor writing has prevented them giving the marks a student truly deserves.
Roberto Perroni.
I do the animal stories. I also do the space stories, apparently.
Weekdays from 3 on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Leave me some stories, Roberto, for goodness sakes. He's got 2 genres of story. Animals, yeah, he can have.
Specialist.
The space stories? I like space and science fiction.
What do?
We do the bum stories.
Well, you do the bum story.
We should probably put that in the podcast. It's a serious medical... what we're doing is we are demystifying the human body and visiting the doctors with embarrassing ailments. That's what we're doing. Admittedly, I told that story right at the top of the show, as there is less chance of my boy boss or my lady boss listening, so less chance of me getting a right royal rollicking, which is another thing you should get checked out as often as you can. Phil's in Astridge. Good morning, Phil.
Good morning, Ian. I'm glad you raised the tone this morning.
We have started off at highbrow, and we're going to go even higher. What have you got for us?
My grapes. I had my bunch of grapes. I had to go to the. I had to go to the L&D to have some injections for them.
Oh, did you have? You had the injections? Did you?
I did. Yeah, just to bring them down.
I had mine banded. And what that is. Yeah, what it is, it's like a lampshade. What they do is
I've had that.
You've had that. They fire a little elastic band around it until it dies.
Yeah.
Go on. Sorry, you had an injection in yours, yes?
Yeah, and I sort of trundled through the L&D for about 10 minutes to get to this reception desk, and at the reception desk, this girl looked up, and it was one of my friends.
Oh no!
And I just said, "Good morning, Phil." So she knew exactly what I was there for. So word got around amongst our circle of friends.
It's weird, isn't it? Because let's talk bluntly for a second. If anyone's had piles, bad piles, it is flipping horrible. It's painful, it's messy, it's unpleasant. But why are we so... We're really embarrassed to talk about it, aren't we?
We are, yeah.
Is it all good now? Is everything better now down there?
Everything's fine
Your
now.
bot's not so sore?
No, that's it.
Phil, excellent stuff indeed. 08459 455 555. Catherine is literally... I wouldn't be surprised, Catherine. This is how we know if this is okay, right? If this topic is fine, which I suspect it is, we'll all be here tomorrow. If this topic is inappropriate and action has to be taken, then you as the producer... Possibly me, but it'll be harder. You as the producer will not be here tomorrow because you will be facing the disciplinary action, the DA.
The way I look at it, Ian, is I've had a really good run. I've been here much longer than I thought I would.
Yeah.
I came here with nothing.
Yeah.
I've had a lovely night out at the, not the Sony's.
Yeah.
Win-win.
You got your BFH, your bus fare home.
Yeah.
Not literally. It's a metaphor for life.
I didn't win the speedboat, so to speak.
No. So,
but I never expected to even see the speedboat. So,
do you remember? So, basically, that's what. If Catherine's not here tomorrow, then boy, she's been in trouble. We'll be fine. I'm sure we'll be fine with this. Do you remember a television programme which I think should have had more publicity? It was on Channel 5, hosted by Dale Winton.
Oh.
No. Touch the Truck.
Yeah!
Do you remember that?
Right, that was kind of an adaptation of something Australian radio stations have been doing for ages, where it's just the one who has the endurance to keep your hand on the prize.
Yeah. It's a big... They do it in the States as well.
Yeah.
And I was so excited when it came over here, and it didn't really take off. Basically, for those who missed Touch the Truck, it was a truck, big truck in like a shopping mall with, I don't know, 80 people touching it, just touching it.
But let's just explain the truck. It wasn't like, it wasn't like a white van. It was a sexy truck with big wheels.
Big, sexy truck. And the last person to let go of the last person touching the truck won it.
Who knew people wanted trucks so much?
Yeah.
They do that still with cars.
Where?
In Yarndale.
What, they do touch the car?
Yeah, you have to just stand there touching it.
Get me part of that action. It went on for 5 days. The thing is, you're not allowed to sleep. I think you get like a short wee break every 5 hours or something, like 2 minutes. And you go insane. You start hallucinating and you go nuts. And there's a lot of psychological interplay. Where's this touch the car? I'll win it.
Do you have to touch it with your hands, or can you just be leaning up against it?
You've got to touch it with your hands.
Yeah.
Can you also be leaning up against it?
I don't think you're allowed to lean.
No. Because you'd just get in the back and have a sleep, wouldn't you?
You just lie in the back seat. It was good, that. Do you remember Touch the Truck, Just?
No, I don't, boss, no.
Oh, it was... let me explain it.
OK.
In 1969... no, hang on, that's the wrong story. You had to touch a truck for 5 days, and then you won it.
Wow. That's an interesting format. And you were entertained by that? Boss, can you come back now, please? Boss? That's not funny. I've touched trucks before, and I didn't find it fun. Quite dirty, actually. I had to have a shower when I got home. Boss? Boss?
Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. 08459 455 555. Well, so far we've covered bum grapes and touching trucks. It's not even 6:30 in the morning. Now, Hertfordshire firefighters say they struggled to tackle a recent house fire in St Albans because the owner had been hoarding her belongings. The woman escaped with her life, but according to her neighbours in Upper Culver Road, the amount of stuff that she'd stockpiled was an accident waiting to happen. We'll hear from a neighbour in a moment, but first of all, our reporter Justin Dealey has been looking into this. Justin, you were there. What was it like?
Hello, Ian. Yep, I was there yesterday. It was absolutely shocking. We have some photographs on our Facebook page for our listeners to have a look at. The fire service, they think this fire was caused by a candle, which spread very quickly because of the vast amount of paperwork, newspapers, magazines and books. I mean, we are talking here top to bottom. Some of those TV shows that we've seen on hoarding, it was just like that. I spoke to Sam Ledger, the fire crew commander from Herts Fire and Rescue, and I asked him whether he'd ever seen anything like this before.
Surprisingly, yes, it's more common than you think. I've been to 3 or 4 instances involving something very, very similar, yes.
Look, I mean, even still, you can't even look through the window because the books are stacked up against the window. They're still there now. You must have had all sorts of problems trying to get into this property because of all this stuff here.
Absolutely. I've been told from the whitewash that turned up to the job first, they had to actually physically take the door off because they couldn't open it up. They had to take the hinges off to get in, and they certainly had lots of access problems getting up the stairs because, again, that was full of paper and books. As you can see, all this rubbish here is actually just from that one room upstairs.
Just from one bedroom?
That's just one bedroom.
That is staggering.
Floor to ceiling, yeah, absolutely. Some people have difficulty letting go of some of their property and their belongings, and this is obviously a case of that.
Well, that's the fire service. What about the neighbours, Joss? What did they have to say?
Well, the neighbours were in shock. I mean, lots of people knew this lady, but they'd never actually been inside her property. I spoke to the next-door neighbour, Peter Busher, and here's what he had to say. Well, sir, as a next-door neighbour, you must feel quite lucky that this fire didn't spread to your property.
Yes, very much so. Fire brigade done all they could to stop it from coming here and going over there. I mean, it was something that had to happen sometime.
You could see this coming?
Yeah.
You knew about her obsession with hoarding. I know it's a very, very tricky situation. Did you ever say to her, look, for your own safety, this is not right, you've got to do something about this?
No. Well, she's a neighbour. She knew the risks that she was taking by doing it all like that. Would you like someone to tell you how to live your life?
No, I wouldn't. But then again, you were at risk. But I totally understand what you're saying. Just lastly, try and describe what it was like inside that property, because this lady was your neighbour. When you went inside, just try and describe what you saw. And were you shocked by what you saw?
Just piles of paper, books, built up in the passageway from one room to another, from the other room to the next room. You had to clamber over them. She couldn't get in the front door properly. She couldn't open it wide. She always squeezed herself through, squeezed herself back out.
It's absolutely incredible, isn't it?
Yeah. But she was an educated lady. She hoarded it. She used to say, all those books, she said, I do read them. Well, I knew that.
She just couldn't get rid of them?
No, she wouldn't.
Hoarding is it's a mental illness, isn't it? It's a mental illness to have that much stuff. Years ago, I used to live in a flat, and the old lady beneath me said, I've locked myself out. Could you climb in through my window and let me in? I said, yeah, of course. And I wish I hadn't seen what I'd seen, because it was full of dollies, and full of just plastic bags with who knows what was in there. And I felt really sad.
There's a level of mess that is not mess anymore, isn't it? It's being unable to let go of something, and it's not really about the stuff.
It's the Mr. Trebus factor for those old enough to remember him.
I think it's probably more common than we realise.
Let's put it out there. 08459 455 555. I would imagine if I were to say, are you a hoarder? I don't think anyone would say yes, because they'd go, well no, these piles of stuff, I need it. It's my collection, I need this stuff. But maybe your next door neighbour is, or your mum, or your granddad, or your son. Be interesting to hear. 08459 455 555. It's BBC Three Counties Radio. Let's get the travel news now.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
So far, a rather quiet start across the three counties this morning. We're not seeing too many build-ups or delays. The M1 at Luton Spur, expecting that to build up between junction 10A, the Kidney Wood roundabout, and junction 10 for Luton Airport. Some major roadworks continuing there at the moment. Also on the M25 in both directions between junction 25 for Enfield and junction 27, the M11. Major roadworks continue there as well, often causing delays. So far on the trains, no reported problems or delays. Nicola Richards, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Across beds, hearts and bugs.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's 6:30, I'm Simon Oxley. Police in Bedfordshire say more and more people are signing up to carry out speed checks in their local area. The Alliance of British Drivers has described it as vigilante action. In the last few minutes, it's been reported that debris has been found in the part of the Atlantic where the missing yacht disappeared. A skipper of a catamaran which joined in the search has told the BBC they think it could be parts from the missing yacht. They've passed on the coordinates of the find to US Coast Guards. And polling stations will open at 7 this morning for European elections and council elections across Hertfordshire and in Milton Keynes.
Three Counties Sports.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Practice starts this morning ahead of Sunday's Monaco Grand Prix. Hertfordshire's Lewis Hamilton leads the Drivers' Championship after winning the last 4 races. Hamilton hopes the street circuit will mean a more competitive race.
Obviously, I think it will bring us closer because we don't have long straights anywhere. So I'm hoping that brings things closer and we can get some good racing out of Ferrari and Red Bull. Yeah, I'm excited for that. Yeah, I have a feeling McLaren could be good as well this weekend. But we'll wait and see.
The former Watford manager Gianfranco Zola has confirmed his interest in the vacancy at Norwich. Another former Watford manager, Malky Mackay, is also being strongly linked with the job at Carrow Road. England have won a football tournament on penalties. England's under-17s beat the Netherlands 4-1 in a shootout after a 1-1 draw in the final of the European Under-17 Championships in Malta. And the former Stevenage striker Jordan Burrow has joined conference side Lincoln after being released by the Borough. Golf's PGA Championship starts at Wentworth today. Woburns Ian Poulter is set to play despite a back injury. Buckinghamshire's Luke Donald is hoping to pick up his first victory of the season.
Well, I'm hoping to, spark off the year a little bit. It's been a solid year, but haven't won yet, and obviously coming back to a place where you've won a couple of times always brings back good memories. It's a golf course, obviously, since the redesign has been very kind to me, and hopefully more of the same this year.
And England's cricketers start a 5-match one-day series against Sri Lanka at the Oval this afternoon. The day-night match starts at 1 o'clock. BBC Three Counties News and Sport. The next full bulletin is at 7.
Call 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Manina, ya sono menino della, ella è un mio amore, ya sono amore mio della. Silver moon is out of sight, and the golden sun has come. A beautiful
thoughts of beauty again? What's going on here?
Well, I remember seeing a picture once. It's the picture here on page 25 of the Daily Mail of Sophia Loren, who is still, obviously, a beautiful woman.
Despite being 106.
Despite the fact that the other month they got a picture of her having a scratch of her head underneath her wig.
Oy.
And there was... And I don't know whether I'm making this up, maybe about Sophia Loren, but I know it's certainly something that they've been using in Hollywood for years, where if you wear a wig, what you do is you get some bits of tape, probably not sellotape, probably something a bit more surgical.
Blue tack.
Right, and some cotton.
Yeah.
And you stick it on the side of your temples.
She's miming this, dear
near
listener.
your hairline.
Yeah.
And probably a bit around the back as well.
Yeah.
And then they tie a great big knot in the back of your hair with this cotton.
That pulls your head back.
And it gives you kind of, like the effect of having a bit of a facelift, but you've had no work done at all.
Well, when you do it like that, it looks so attractive.
Yeah. That's how it would look on me.
You will often see men of a certain age, celebrities, who have never had beards and then suddenly they get a goatee.
Yeah.
The goatee is to hide the facelift.
Yeah. And also, old facelifts.
Tom Jones and Dale Winton have got beards.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
But the old facelift, I think they're getting a bit better at it now, because I think they go up rather than back.
Have you ever seen...
But hang on, the side...
All right,
your
calm down,
sideys...
blimey. Yes.
They end up being behind your ears.
Have you... Can I talk now?
Go on.
Thank you so much.
Go for it.
You're welcome. Have you ever seen a...
You finished?
Have you ever seen a facelift being done?
Yes.
It is flipping weird, isn't it? I saw... it was Gene Simmons from Kiss, and they cut the face off and lift it up. They lift the face up.
Hike.
It's the weirdest thing. They cut the face off and they peel the face back. That's nuts, isn't it?
That sounds like quite a radical facelift.
I'm going to find it on YouTube. Anyway, listen, while I'm finding it on YouTube, I had a really flippin' horrible experience in my house this morning.
What happened?
2:30, I woke up to the sound of my son going, Dad! Dad!
Oh.
Dad! Dad! Sort of blimey,
Which son, little one or big?
Well, I couldn't work it out. I'm lying in bed thinking, I hope my wife gets up, because I can't be bothered. Dad! Dad! And then I thought, I don't know if that is my son. I don't know what that noise is. I went out into the hallway. It was my cat.
Ah, yeah.
My cat going, Dad! Dad! I thought, oh no, she's involved in an inter-animal fight. Because that's the noise she makes when she's either killing a moth. And I went to the top of the stairs, and we've got a stair gate there, thank God, to protect us primarily from the cat. And I looked, and there was the cat, and it was dark, and there was a little shadow in the corner.
Oh.
And I'm thinking, oh...
Frog.
Oh, well, frog. And then she starts meowing because she wants to come up. I said, well, you wait there, Velvet, let's just see what's going on. And I had my phone, and I shone the phone in the corner. There's a dead mouse. There's a dead mouse there, and its eyes are open, and it's just lying there dead. I'm thinking, oh, you dirty, dirty cat.
So what was she calling you for? To show you?
Yeah. Dad! And so I thought, I've got to get rid of it.
Was she saying dad or dead?
I just don't know. I don't really speak cat
panicked
that
at
well.
what she'd done.
And I thought, I've got to get rid of this. I've got to get rid of this mouse. So I went to pick it up. It moved!
Oh.
It wasn't dead!
Oh.
She'd just been playing... She does this, and I really hate her for it. She'd been playing with the mouse and hadn't bothered to kill it. She brought it in. We don't have mice in our house. She knows that. That's a rule. She brought that mouse in, she played with it, and then she got bored of it.
Is it an honour thing? Is she giving it to you to give it the death blow?
I'm not giving it a death blow. I once had to... She once half killed a mole, and I had to hit it over the head with a piece of wood. Not a mole, a vole. A baby vole.
Oh, yeah, I remember you telling me about
I had to crush it.
that
And then there's I'm not going to... Do you know what? It was 2:30 in the morning. I thought, I'm not going to crush a half-dead mouse. And so I went to bed afraid of a half-dead mouse ghost and a cat with a conscience. Terrified. And then I got up this morning at 4. I went back to the scene of the crime. Où est la mouse? La mouse dans le champ. The mouse is gone.
She called... what was he called in Reservoir Dogs?
Mousebusters.
The cleaner.
I don't know. I'm worried that the mouse is alive and it's going to bring back all of its mice friends.
Look what they did to me.
And it's going to enter my mouth.
Oh.
That's my fear.
That's a leap.
That's my fear. This is why I don't like things, because I'm really worried. Imagine if you woke up in the morning and the mouth a bit dusty, and then a big spider crawls out of your mouth. Or some baby mice.
If you're joining us, having just opened your eyes, Good morning.
Check your mouth.
Check your mouth.
I once put on a pair of slippers when I was a youngster, probably about 13. I wore these slippers all evening.
There's that imaginary sweet again.
I wore slippers all evening. Took the slippers off. A beetle the size of a child's hand crawled out.
Yeah. Last year, there was a bit of a slug infestation around my area.
Yeah.
And I went into the kitchen and stood on something squishy. Oh, it's probably a grape, I thought, turning on the light.
Back
the
to
kids,
grapes
you know
again.
what the kids are like?
Yeah, they've got grapes everywhere.
It was a slug.
Oh,
bare feet, slug, squish.
I just hate life. Oh, look, here's Gene Simmons having a facelift. You just watch. You'll see his face being lifted up. If I'll tweet this, follow at Iain Lee. It's you'll see his face being lifted up. Hang on a second.
Wow! Oh.
Hang on. Hang on. There's his eye. They're putting drops in his eyes.
I want to see this.
Yeah, you do want to see it. Hang on. Here we go. They're cutting around his ear. They're cutting the skin. The clock's moving on. Oh, this is the edited version. There isn't. All right, you do a story from the paper.
It's amazing. He looks so natural after all that.
And when they do boob jobs, they cut under the boob, they rip the boob back, they shove in a ball, and they put it back.
Yeah, I've done similar things to a chicken. Rory McIlroy and his fiancée, days after the wedding invites go out, they've cancelled the wedding.
Oh gosh, that's like that happened in the Archers recently.
What? Are you still looking at the facelift?
Yeah, I'm going to find you the. There is an uncut version.
What happened in the Archers? Someone cancelled a wedding.
Someone cancelled a wedding. Yeah.
I think that's very brave.
Sorry?
I think it's a very brave thing to do.
It's a very brave thing to do.
Because once that momentum starts building up, it's really difficult to...
Look, they've lifted his face up. They're sucking out under his ear.
This?
They're sucking out his ear. They've lifted his face up. His face is not attached to his head anymore. Oh, look at that. Oh, my gosh. They're putting toilet roll in there. Oh, look at that. Oh, Catherine.
It looks like the English Patient.
All right, I'm going to tweet that.
Can we switch that off now?
No, I don't know how to. All I know is how to move it onto an even more graphic bit.
Can we see the after where he's happy? And...
Look! His face isn't touching his face. He's got. Oh, look!
Oh no, that's not right.
I'm totes tweeting that at Iain Lee if you want to see something really, really horrible. Back to you.
Oh, if you're having bacon this morning, don't watch the video.
Oh dear.
And then on page 11 of the Daily Mail, there's a picture of Ed Miliband eating a butty.
I don't understand the pictures. He's eating a bacon butty. What's his beef?
I don't know. It's a bit. Don't talk about beef.
Sorry?
Raw meat. I can't stop thinking about Gene Simmons' face.
Okay, well, should we come back? Should we calm down and come back?
That's Gene Simmons.
Oh, blimey. It says, stop tweeting pictures of my facelift. I will stop that immediately.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
In Stevenage at the moment, there's one lane closed on Hitchin Road between Lister Hospital Roundabout and Gunnelswood Road. Now, that's due to an accident that's happened there. The M1 London-bound starting to build up on the sensors this morning between junction 10 Luton Airport and junction 9 for Redbourne. The M25 heading anti-clockwise, rather slow-moving between 21 the M1 and junction 19 for Watford. And in Bricketwood, looking very slow at the moment on the North Orbital Road, just off the M25. So far, no reported problems on the trains. And Nicola Richards, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thanks very much. 6:45, Thursday, the 22nd of May. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. Police in Bedfordshire say more and more people are signing up to carry out speed checks in their local area. The Alliance of British Drivers has described it as vigilante action. Debris has been found in the Atlantic where the missing British yacht is thought to have disappeared. And neighbours of a St Albans woman who was injured in a fire at her home say it was an accident waiting to happen because of the amount of belongings she's hoarded. This is BBC Three Counties Radio. Let's get the weather. Here's Kelly Betts.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
You don't always have to say my name with a question mark. It's okay, I am allowed to broadcast sometimes. What? So today, any lingering rain in the northwest will soon ease, leaving a mainly dry start to the day with some sunshine. Scattered showers will develop through the morning, some of which will turn heavy and thundery later, particularly through the afternoon. Max temp of 19 degrees Celsius. And if we're looking at tonight, sunny spells with a risk of heavy showers during the evening. It should become largely dry overnight, although a few light showers are possible. Min temp, 9 degrees Celsius. Just making it shorter for you.
The European elections are taking place today, but most of the results will be announced on Sunday night after voting is closed throughout the 28 member states.
Given the democratic deficit and the concentrations of unelected power in Europe, what could make us feel more like European citizens?
As part of our coverage, we'll bring you a special programme telling you the news first with reporters across the region.
Can we cope year-on-year increase in the population north of 200,000 people?
We'll bring you interviews with key figures and give you the full picture as it starts to unfold.
What is your position on the threatened transatlantic trade and investment partnership that's coming up, aka the EU-US Free Trade Agreement?
The European election results, Sunday night from 10, here on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Well, no one told me about her, the way she lied. Well, no one told me about her, how many people cried. But it's too late to say you're sorry. How would I know? Why should I care? Please don't bother trying to find her. She's not there. Well, let me tell you about the way she looked, the way she acted, the color of her hair. Her voice was soft and cool, her eyes were clear and bright, but she's not there. Well, no one told me about her. What could I do? Well, no one told me about her, though they all knew. But it's too late to say you're sorry. How would I know? Why should I care? Please don't bother trying to find her. She's not there. Well, let me tell you about the way she looked, the way she acted, the color of her hair. Her voice was soft and cool, her eyes were clear and bright, but she's not there. But it's too late to say you're sorry. How would I know? Why should I care? Please don't bother trying to find her. She's not there. Well, let me tell you about the way she looked, the way she acted, the color of her hair. Her voice was soft and cool, her eyes were clear and bright, but she's not there.
Now, if you travel on Thameslink, you should know its line engineers are being balloted for strike action. The RMT union is concerned that jobs at First Capital Connect's depot in Bedford will be under threat when Siemens takes up the contract to build new trains for the service. Steve Smart is RMT's regional organiser and joins me now. Morning, Steve.
Morning.
Steve, why are you striking now? The decision to move work to Siemens was made quite some time ago, wasn't it?
We're not striking.
Why are you balloting for strike action now? The decision to move work to Siemens was made quite some time ago, a year ago.
Yes, it was, and we've been asking First Capital Connect to consult on this move. We've got no assurances coming from the company to protect our members' jobs going forward. So the next process, we've been pushing to have a confirmation of what their proposals are for the current employees at Bedford Caldwell. Obviously, it's got to the state now where it's coming closure for the announcement of the new franchisee, and there's no indication of what their proposals are in respect of the members. Now, that can only mean one thing, or two things, I should say. They can either cheaply transfer the members there to allow them to follow their work into Siemens. Siemens are being very quiet on this, and there's nothing to indicate to the company that that is what's going to happen going forward. There's also the proviso of any new franchisee holder, whether it be First Capital Connect or whoever of the other four bidders, whether or not they will continue and employ the members there in alternative grades or in alternative work.
How many jobs will be affected by the closure of First Capital Connect's Bedford-Caldwell depot?
Well over 100. Well over 100.
The RMT has called this shambolic and a ludicrous situation. Why do you think they've said that?
Well, we've said it because it's a follow-on from the whole refranchising process that's been going on ever since the last 2 years. You'll recall the West Coast Main Line contract was pulled, and that was to do with First Capital Connect and Virgin. Now, nothing has changed. We're getting no assurances for our members with this new franchise, and it's coming. The new franchise should be coming in September, but during that time, the company are having to transfer trains during their current franchise period, and the DfT and the Northern Rail announced out of the blue that they were already going to be taking trains from Bedford-Caldwell up to Northern Rail, and none of us were advised, and I'm not going to disbelieve First Capital Connect. They didn't know anything about it either when it was announced at the end of during April.
Is it fair to punish customers like this?
We're not. No intention of punishing customers.
But it will do. You know it will do. So is it fair to punish customers like this?
When you say, is it fair? But where's the fairness for all of those people who are working at Bedford-Caldwell for their future?
Oh, no, I understand that. I just wonder, is it fair to punish customers, to punish the commuter?
Tell me what alternative we have as a union to represent our members and to protect their jobs going forward.
So the answer is yes, it is fair.
Sorry?
The answer is yes, it is fair to punish customers.
It's a legal.
I know it's illegal, right, Steve? It's just a very simple yes or no answer. Is it fair, in your opinion, to punish customers like this?
We don't want to punish customers.
But you will be by going on strike.
What we want is the company to get round the table.
Okay.
And I don't care which company it is.
Or
Siemens are very quiet. The DfT are very quiet. An announcement should be coming through by the end of May to announce who the new franchise holder is. They're telling us we can't do anything until the franchise holders.
Steve, I understand all of that, but this isn't an idle threat. You will do this. So again, very simple yes or no answer. Is it fair?
Have a ballot
Steve,
first. We will have a ballot first.
But if
our members, let me just say, if our members decide that they want to take part in industrial action,
then they'll strike.
We have to have a ballot first.
I know how it works.
We will support our members. It's our members that come first.
Okay, so that's interesting. The members come first, not the customers. So you're saying, yes, it is fair to punish the customers like this?
I'm saying...
No, Steve, it's a very simple yes or no answer. I'm not making a judgment on you.
Look,
Do you think it's fair to punish the customers?
Sorry, Ian, you are not going to put words in my mouth.
Okay, well then answer... Steve, answer the question then. Do you think it's fair to punish the customers like this if you choose to go on strike?
We are struck by legal process to go through.
I know how ballots work. I know how strike... I'm just asking a very simple question. Yeah, I do. I'm just asking a very simple question, Steve. No need to be patronised. I'm asking a very, very simple question. It's yes or no answer. Do you think it's fair to punish the customers? Yes or no?
In a situation like this, it's an unfortunate situation. And if the customers, if they do get affected by the maintenance not being undertaken by the... members at Bedford-Caldwell, which affects the running of the trains.
Yes.
That is a very unfortunate situation.
So it's fair?
Well, it must be.
Steve, thank you. We got there in the end. Thank you, Steve. Steve Smart, RMT's regional organiser. I'm not making a judgment call. I just wanted to know. It is interesting, isn't it, how quite often... And I don't give away my politics on this. I kind of just sit... I try and sit, for some stuff, on the fence. Some of it I don't give a monkey's about, and I do give away my colours and which way my flag is blowing. But quite often, when we get union people on... saying they've got a cob on, is that fair? There seems to be a kind of an attitude. I can understand why, but they seem to be...
They're expecting you to try and trip them up.
But I just want to know. I just want to know what's going on, and I'm not saying whether I think striking is right or not. There's no reason for me to kind of give away my thoughts on that at the moment. But it I think people would be more sympathetic if they didn't come on with all defences up. I think perhaps is the thing. Steve the Milkman's on the line. Morning, Steve.
Morning, Ian.
You're not going to have a cob on with me, are you?
Yes, always.
Blimey, not you as well. Go on, what you got?
Your slipper story, that's a bit of a witty story.
Shut up, man. What are you talking about?
I can trump that.
Go on, then.
When I was a young lad, which was many years ago...
Yes. Are you in a box, Steve?
I'm in a little van.
OK, well, it sounds like you're in a cardboard box underneath the water.
Oh, no, that was a long time ago when I was in a cardboard box. Okay. Yeah, anyway... I went to bed, and as I got in bed, I felt this thing on my feet. So I jumped out of bed, screamed like a little girlie, running to my dad. He come into the bedroom, pulled back the duvet, and there was a little bat at the end of my bed.
A bat at the end of your bed?
A bat at the end of my bed.
Oh, flipping it! How did you get rid of that?
My dad got it out. I didn't do anything. I was hiding.
How did your dad get it out?
He just opened the windows, I think, and it just flew out.
Have you ever had a bird trapped in a room?
I've got a story about a bird, but it wasn't trapped.
Thank you very much indeed. If you've ever had a pigeon, if you've ever had the misfortune to have a pigeon trapped... This is where we're going. We've got it, OK? Creatures that shouldn't have been in your house that were in your house. 08459 455 555. My sister once had a pigeon in her bedroom and she was screaming and I was going, oh, for goodness sakes, Joe, grow up, let's go and deal with it. And I went in and then I started screaming because pigeons stuck inside rooms they're like a crazy old lady who's been locked up in a prison and throwing a mess around.
I took a sparrow in the house once.
What?
Yeah, I don't think it was quite right.
Why did you...
It let me pick it up. I was only a kid, and I'd been watching a lot of Dr. Dolittle.
Yeah.
And thought I had special powers.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'd noticed this sparrow for a while. Sparrows. And I picked it up and took it in the house to show my mum. And I've been saying, I've got a pet sparrow. Yeah, of course you have, because I was full of it. And I took it in the house, and my mum went crackers.
Yeah, of course she did. It was a sparrow in the house.
Get it out!
But this is it. I knew if we fished around enough, we'd get from piles to bum doctors to animals in your house that shouldn't have been there. We've done it. It's the logical conclusion, isn't it?
I also had a neighbour whose cat kept coming in my bedroom, and one afternoon. I lived in a flat, and if I left the windows open, it would come in. And one afternoon, my mum went in to put something in my room, and she said, "Is that yours?" I said, "What?" She said, "That." There was a cat fast asleep on my bed. It was a manky one.
Oh, dirty. 08459 455 555. Ladies and gentlemen, we have radio phone in gold at 1 minute to 7. Has an animal ever been in your house that didn't deserve to be there?
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
In Stevenage, there's one lane closed at the moment on Hitchin Road, heading into town between Lister Hospital roundabout and Gunnelswood Road. There's been an accident there. The M1 London bound, very heavy on the speed sensors between junction 11 Dunstable Road and junction 9 for Redbourne. In St Albans, looking rather heavy at the moment on London Road, just at the High Street. And taking a look at the M25, heading anti-clockwise, rather heavy at the moment between junction 21, the M1, and junction 19 at Watford. In Bricketwood, very slow at the moment on the North Orbital Road, just off the M25. And the Barnet bypass looking slow between Stirling Corner and Mill Hill Circus.
You can say goodbye.
Cheerio.
When that music starts, that just means you've still got another 10 seconds if you need it.
I know. I've done this before, haven't I? Ridiculous.
Yeah. Don't stop it. We'll get there. Listen, we'll get through there. I'm talking too long now.
Local and vocal across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's 7 o'clock. I'm Simon Oxley. The headlines: Bedfordshire Police backing Speedwatch volunteers, debris found in search for missing yacht, and neighbours warning after St Albans fire.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Police in Bedfordshire say more and more people are signing up to carry out speed checks in their local area. 40 volunteers attended a training day last weekend ahead of this week's Speedwatch, which started in Luton on Monday. The Alliance of British Drivers has described it as vigilante action. More from Tony Fisher.
The training sessions cover the use of speed indicator devices and radar guns. The volunteers then take up speedwatch patrols in their areas, noting details of any vehicle exceeding the speed limit, with data then passed to Bedfordshire officers. Vehicle owners are then written to by the police. Persistent speeders receive a second letter, and police say further action will be taken if there is a third offence.
Search teams looking for 4 British sailors who've been missing in the Atlantic for almost a week say they've seen debris close to where the yacht went missing. The US Coast Guard resumed its search on Tuesday after an online petition organised by the men's families. Neighbours of a St Albans woman who was injured in a fire at her home say it was an accident waiting to happen. Firefighters struggled to get into the property in Upper Culver Road yesterday morning because of the amount of belongings she'd hoarded. Peter Butcher lives next door.
It was something that had to happen sometime. Piles of paper, books built up in the passageway from one room to another. She couldn't get in the front door properly.
3 more teenagers from High Wycombe, aged 19, 18 and 16, have been charged by police in connection with a shooting in the town earlier this month. Officers were called to the Lucas Wood area on May the 11th. A 17-year-old had already been charged. Polling stations are opening this morning for European elections and council elections across Hertfordshire and in Milton Keynes. All the council seats in Milton Keynes are up for election. Councils voting in Hertfordshire include St Albans, Stevenage, North Herts and Watford, with the mayoral election also taking place in Watford. Some councils are holding counts tonight, others tomorrow. Counting for the European elections won't take place until Sunday. Rail engineers say they're being forced to take industrial action against First Capital Connect. Unions claim that staff at the Caldwell depot in Bedford will be left without work when Siemens takes up the contract to build new Thameslink trains. Steve Smart from the RMT accepts passengers will be affected.
If they do get affected by the maintenance not being undertaken by the members at Bedford Caldwell, which affects the running of the trains, yes, that is a very unfortunate situation.
So it's fair?
Well, it must be.
In sport, practice starts this morning ahead of Sunday's Monaco Grand Prix. Hertfordshire's Lewis Hamilton leads the Drivers' Championship after winning the last 4 races. And the former Watford manager Gianfranco Zola has confirmed his interest in the vacancy at Norwich. The weather, some sunshine this morning, but the rain will return and will be heavy and thundery this afternoon. A maximum temperature 19 degrees Celsius. And you can get the latest news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties.
BBC Three Counties Radio's big tour of beds, hearts and bucks.
The friendliness of a country village.
It's all about where you live.
Oh, here for life now. Got everything I want, really.
And all this week, we're featuring Wendover.
I've lived here since 1966. It's just absolutely great. It's got so much to offer.
The big tour of beds, hearts and bucks. BBC Three Counties Radio.
Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. We've got it, we're on track. Yesterday's show was, I'd give it 4 out of 10. Today, I think we're edging towards a 7. We need your input to push us right up to that 7 point. Some of the things we're talking about are civilians with guns, speed guns. A St Albans woman with piles of stuff. And have you ever had a creature in your house that didn't belong there? Just think about it. Kath had a manky-old cat that wasn't hers. And Steve the Milky had a bat in his bed. Facebook.com/BBC 3CR, or you can give me a call, 08459 455 555.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Don't cry, Kath.
Well, you can't ruin the phone in.
Sorry?
Before it begins.
I'm doing what?
When animals come in your house that shouldn't be there.
When creatures that are in your house that shouldn't be there. What do you mean I've ruined it?
I think you should just shorten it down, make it punchy. That's how you get the audience.
I shortened something down before the top of the hour. I nearly lost my job. You've got to be so careful these days. How are you going to make it punchier?
Animal invaders. Call me now. 08459 455 555.
That sounds like you're talking about Nazi dogs invading Poland in 1939.
I'm not. I'm talking about...
But that's what it sounds like.
People getting in your house that shouldn't be there.
You've abbreviated it too much. It's now too little.
Right. Animal home invaders. Call me now.
Well, that sounds like doves that have been trained to steal your jewellery.
Animal intruders. Call me now.
When have creatures been in your house that didn't belong there? Call me now. Who's his best, Just?
I would say probably Catherine's.
Yes.
Sorry, boss. It just sounds punchier. If I'm going to go onto the streets with this one, animal invaders, talk to me. Straight away, there will be a response. Sorry, yours is a bit drawn out there.
I tell you what, do one with animal invaders.
Yep.
I think intruders, maybe. Can I just polish it slightly? Animal intruders.
Animal intruders.
Yeah.
So you want two separate voxes?
Yeah.
Which one's going to work the best?
Yeah. Animal intruders versus when have creatures been in your house that didn't belong there?
Leave it with me.
Thank you very much, Justin. We'll come to you in a second. Now, whenever we talk about speed... I made myself laugh. How ridiculous. We get paid for this, don't we?
You might.
Whenever we talk about speeding, we get calls from people who want to see more traffic cops catching the most persistent offenders. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like that's going to happen, but Bedfordshire Police have come up with a cunning alternative. They're training civilians to stand on the roadside with speed guns, taking down the particulars of drivers who break the limit. Those drivers can expect a strongly worded letter. And then if they do it again, they'll get another strongly worded letter. But if they do it again, they can expect points and fines. Here's what Brian Gregory from the Alliance of British Drivers thinks.
I don't think we're in favour of vigilante actionists. You know, that's probably the best way of describing it. We believe that speed limits and their enforcement should be left to the people who are actually qualified to do that. And if there is a local problem with speed, then it should be addressed by engineering measures that make the road feel to the drivers involved like the speed limit is appropriate.
Well, Justin's been asking people about this morning. Justin, where are you and what have people been saying?
Well, I'm in Slip End, which is a small village in Bedfordshire. I've been speaking to a few locals about this idea of them effectively doing the job on behalf of the police. This is Wayne, who I spoke to just a moment ago. So, Wayne, here we are in the village of Slip End. It's 30 miles per hour. Just how bad is the problem here when it comes to speeding?
Speed is terrible down this road. No one seems to take any consideration. I know my son has been knocked down by a car down this road, down the front street, was put in hospital for a few days. He had his whole leg broken.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's that was last year. The speed is terrible down this road. No one takes any consideration. Parking, people will park on the corners of the little roads and you can't get out, you can't see where you're going.
So how fast do you think these cars are going? I mean, I've been here for about 5 minutes or so. They're definitely not going 30 miles an hour. How fast do you think they're going?
Minimum of 40. Some of them are like 50. And we've got the little speed light down at the bottom which shows you, and we've seen them flying past there at 50.
So would you volunteer? Would you give up your time to stand here at the roadside trying to catch speeding motorists?
Because of the job that I do and the fact that I'm out at this time of the morning taking the dog for a walk so I can get to work for 8:30 and I work in London, I wouldn't have a lot of time, but the time I would have, yes, I would.
Do you think this idea will work?
I think because of the community we live in the village, yes, people would happily do it.
And a word on the police. When was the last time you saw the police here trying to catch speeding motorists? Because I would say, based on what you're saying, based on what I'm seeing, that'll be quite an easy job for them.
It's a very easy job for them, but they've never... I haven't seen anyone... I haven't seen any police this year.
This year? And I think there you go, Ian. There's the problem. Speeding motorists here in Slip End in Bedfordshire, but as Wayne was saying there, he hasn't seen a traffic officer here this year.
Justin, thank you very much. We'll speak to you later on about creatures that have been in your house that didn't belong there. But before that, we can speak to Bedfordshire's Chief Inspector for Community Safety, Neil Waring. Morning, Neil. I guess what we heard from Wayne there is what this campaign is trying to change. It's taking the power... Well, not taking the power away from police, but giving power to civilians.
Yeah, good morning, Ian. Yeah, this is exactly what it's about. It's empowering the communities, really, to actually start helping to sort of make their places safe for themselves. But it's part of a graduated response. And as the resident in Front Street in Slip End there was explaining, that, the police can ultimately take action in relation to this. But we want to actually understand the level of the issues and the problems. And, you know, as well as I do, that public cuts these days, and I'm not going to hang this all off the back of public cuts, mean that we can't be everywhere doing everything all the time. And really the training event that we held the weekend before last was all about actually putting in some new volunteers, training them up so that actually they can go back to their villages, go back to their towns and actually start to tackle and quantify what these issues are for us.
What do you think about what Brian Gregory from the Alliance of British Drivers said? He thinks that we should be instead concentrating on changing roads so people are forced to drive slower, and that it will create an air of vigilantism.
Well, this is the graduated response around this, in that we can change the environment that people are driving within. We can put road measures in on the roads through the councils, but all this stuff is quite costly. And again, this is about changing behaviours. That if we can actually change people's behaviours so that actually they understand where the risks lie, they understand that actually there are some local community people there, community residents that want to try and make a difference there. It's providing some visibility back there, so that it's actually letting the residents help manage this situation in the first instance, report back to us, and we can take the further action and follow it up afterwards.
Bedfordshire Police, if I've got this right, do need to save something like 20 million quid over the next few years. This is a way of doing it. This is contributing to those savings, isn't it?
Well, actually, we've had speed watching for a number of years. It's not a massively new phenomenon, and as you're probably aware, throughout the country there are other speed watches. But one of the things that I'm trying to do is actually invest. And I say, a lot of people ask me, what's my role in this? And they say, do you manage the speed watches? Well, actually, I don't manage the speed watches. I try and encourage and motivate the people, and actually support them and give them the resources to actually help them help them work.
So it is saving money.
Oh, it's not saving money, because we're actually this isn't saving money. It's actually allowing us to manage things in a different way.
So you're saying, Neil, this is costing more money to do it this way?
It's not costing more money to do it.
Costing the same?
Well,
is it costing the same?
Ian, if you're going to put a police officer at the side of the road and put a volunteer there, then clearly the volunteer is going to be a cheaper option.
So it's saving money. But I'm not having a go there. I'm just asking. It's saving money.
Well, it's a cheaper option because over the years we haven't always stood at the side of roads catching speeding motorists. There are other ways that we've dealt with issues. The speed cameras, the enforcement cameras that you see at the side of the roads are another way of doing it. Again, it's just an alternative thing, an increase in visibility, and actually just making communities generally a safer place.
How easy are these speed cameras to operate? Do you need specialist training to use them, or is it just a case of point and click?
No, well, again, there's a couple of alternatives that we use in relation to this. The older versions, you're quite right, are the traditional speed guns, which traditionally is what people expect to see. However, the newer pieces of equipment are actually a visible sign at the side of the road, which we call them the smiley sands, the speed indicator devices, to actually give you the actual speed that you're actually doing as you approach them, a bit like the matrix signs that are set up beside the road. There are no speed guns in relation to that, and again, the volunteer stands there and actually makes a note of a vehicle's registration number that goes past that's actually exceeding the speed limit, and then that information is passed to the police who check the vehicle, the details, and then send the letters out. So visibly, what you actually see are people in jackets. You see a visible sign which is indicating the speed that car's going past. So the speed guns are a little bit old hat now in terms of the community watch scheme.
Oh, so hang on. Sorry, have I got this right? It's just one of those signs where it smiles if you're doing under 30 and it does a sad face if you're doing over 30, and that's it?
No, well, it gives you the actual speed. It gives you the actual speed.
Okay,
it gives you the speed on there, which it's a digital readout of the actual speed, so everybody can see it, including the driver.
Okay, right. And how do we know that these people aren't, just going to write down anybody's... You're having to trust them a lot, aren't you, that they're going to be responsible and write down the right registration details?
Yeah, you asked me a minute ago about the training. I didn't really answer that. We put them through the training process there, and we also actually... They sign up to a code of conduct about actually how they're behaving, and actually that's clearly one of the issues there, that actually they act with integrity, and if there are any reports that come by, then actually the police and actually the Speedwatch coordinators sit down and work out what's going on. And if anybody gets approached in the streets by a member of the public and asked what's happening, then there's a letter that actually we ask them to give them to actually explain what the process is about what the scheme's about, and any inquiries can come through to people like myself to actually answer any member of the public who's a bit concerned about what's happening.
You're obviously convinced this is going to work. Do you think, because it's 2 letters before actual action is taking place, do you think that will be enough?
Yeah, well, it does work in many cases. Yeah. It's like anything. Give anybody a warning and it tends to check 80% of people. But again, there's always going to be a minority out there.
Yeah.
who do that. And ultimately, we have taken action against people, and we do go out and target people who are persistent.
Well, Neil, as the father of 2 young boys, I hope it works and you can make the roads a little bit safer for my children.
I hope so as well, Ian.
Good luck
Thank
with
you
the
very
project.
much.
Thank you very much indeed. That's Neil Waring, who's Bedfordshire's Chief Inspector for Community Safety. Man, I wish I had a title.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
In Stevenage, the one-lane closed at the moment on Hitchin Road. That's heading into town between Lister Hospital roundabout and Gunnelswood Road. There's been an accident a little earlier on this morning. The M1 heading southbound, very heavy on the speed sensors at the moment, between junction 11 Dunstable Road and junction 9 for Redbourne. And St Albans looking rather heavy heading into town on London Road, just at the High Street. And the M25 heading anti-clockwise, very slow at the moment, between junction 21, the M1, and junction 19 for Watford. And in Borehamwood, rather slow moving on the Barnet bypass between Barnet Lane and Mill Hill Circus. Nicola Richards, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much. Getting a lot of good feedback on Twitter about creatures that have been in your house that shouldn't have been there.
It's because I explained it as Animal Invaders Call Me Now.
7:17 or thereabouts. It's Thursday the 22nd of May. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. Police in Bedfordshire say more and more people are signing up to carry out speed checks in their local area. The Alliance of British Drivers has described it as vigilante action. Debris has been found in the Atlantic where the missing British yacht is thought to have disappeared. And neighbours of a St Albans woman who was injured in a fire at her home say it was an accident waiting to happen because of the amount of belongings she'd hoarded.
BBC Three Counties Radio. If you've missed any of the programmes from the last week, you've missed things like this.
I don't want to say cured me, but it didn't quite bring down the level of sort of background anxiety that you get with generalised anxiety disorder.
But there is a way you can hear it all again. Do you feel like a different person?
Completely.
Go to bbc.co.uk/Three Counties and click on Listen Again.
Throughout this whole interview, you've been very calm and quite chirpy, not anxious at all.
bbc.co.uk/Three Counties.
Let's have a look. We had some ants in the kitchen once, said Paul. I mean, it's annoying, but it's not really what we're after. Reese says there was a sparrow in the fireplace. Satan's thong said wasps in my bed. Wasps in your bed? 08459 455 555. Matt Allright, yes, him, says Japanese rattlesnake racket. I don't know what that means. Is that some kind of code? Is someone going to get hit now that I've read that out on the radio? Have you ever had an animal or a creature in your house that didn't belong there? See, the thing is, by Catherine calling it animal invasions... Sorry?
Intruders.
She's limited it to animals. I'm talking about creatures, baby. Creatures. 08459 455 555. In a minute, we'll be talking about hoarding as well. Like proper hoarding, not just, I've got a collection of 1,000 CDs, where you've got stuff piled up against doors and windows and things, and you can't move around in your house. Now, I bet if I was to ask if any of you were hoarders, you would say no. You don't recognise it, do you? But maybe if I were to ask if your parents or your nan or your son or your cousin is a hoarder, you might think differently.
Or if you avoid having people back to your house because you're afraid of what they'll say. Seriously, no.
You stink.
People, when it starts out, you kind of get to a level where you
people
think,
don't stay stuff.
I'm not going to have it.
I don't think people stay stuff. I think if people went to a house that was owned by a hoarder, I think they were politely...
Yeah, but if you get to a point where there's no room for them to sit down, they just avoid having people back. I'm telling you, that is one of the first things that happens.
08459 455 555. Why are we talking about it? Well, because when the emergency services were called to a house fire in St Albans recently, they found the property was so packed with belongings and junk they struggled to get in. Thankfully, the owner made it out alive, but her neighbours on Upper Culver Street had feared the way she'd been living was an accident waiting to happen. Hertfordshire Fire and Rescue told us they came across more hoarders than you might think, and something needs to be done to help them before it gets to this point where they're being called out. Well, Steve Smith is from the Royal Voluntary Service. Morning, Steve.
Good morning.
Steve, you ran a campaign last autumn, didn't you? What was that?
Well, we had a campaign last year where we did a survey, and we found that 1 in 5 British households could fill a whole room or more with their clutter. 92% of Britons confess to have clutter in their own homes. 33% said they didn't have enough storage space because they kept a lot of items they no longer needed or wanted. And I think as we get older, we acquire more items, clutter if you like, because things hold memories and stuff. So as we get older, it probably gets worse.
And what kind of things are we talking about?
Everything. All sorts of things. I mean, I'm probably a bit of a hoarder myself. I have T-shirts I've had for like 20, 30 years, and I don't like to throw them out.
Oh, man. Listen, I'm going off slightly on a tangent. I've got so many clothes I need to get rid of. I know it's slightly different moulding. Throwing things out is hard, isn't it? And I consider myself quite a well-balanced person. I suppose if somebody has issues that build up over time, it gets even harder, doesn't it?
It does get very hard indeed. I mean, I think, a third of people we surveyed only have clear-outs when they absolutely need to. Nearly half of people we spoke to are deterred from selling unwanted items because they think it's too much hassle. And these days, people don't like to waste things. Everyone's under sort of financial constraints, and it seems a waste to throw perfectly good items out. But you're quite right. I mean, if we do have too much stuff, they do become serious health hazards. One of the serious hazards for an older person is a fall. And we know that 1 in 3 of over 65 will fall every year, and these can cause serious injuries such as, bone fractures, and those alone will cost the NHS more than £2.3 billion a year. So there is a serious side to this all.
This can affect neighbours as well, can't it? If they suspect that there is a problem, not just of people collecting stuff, but actually hoarding stuff, do neighbours have a responsibility? Is there anything they can do?
Well, I think neighbours, can call their local council, local authority if there is an environmental or health hazard, and they'll come and have a look at it and maybe try and help the person to clear their stuff through. I expect to begin with they'll ask nicely and ask for their cooperation, but if it does become a serious hazard for the local community, then I'm sure they can take further enforcement action. But as I say, it is a serious item, and we know that 1 in 20 of people aged 65 and over have tripped as a result of having too much clutter in their homes.
Steve, listen, we've got to move on. I appreciate your time. That's Steve Smith from the Royal Voluntary Service. I'm joined now by Jasmine Harman. Good morning, Jasmine. How are you?
Morning. I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. You presented the TV show Hoarders, which was quite a revelation. Were you as shocked as the rest of the nation at how some people live?
Well, no, obviously the show was about my mother and her hoarding, and so I've lived with it for all my life, so it wasn't a shock to me to see how other hoarders live because I'd lived in that environment myself for many years. What I discovered during the time we were filming was that hoarding is not something that a person can just switch on and off. It really is a serious mental health problem and is recognised as such by the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders as from last year. So it's quite worrying to think that a neighbour might call the authorities, the authorities might come in and clear someone's stuff out, which may be better for their environment and for the environment of the neighbours, but may cause acute distress, may even cause suicidal thoughts for people, because if you imagine somebody who regards their possessions, even if they look like they're worthless to other people, as almost like their children or their loved ones, their friends, their protectors, their comfort. You take that away and you strip that away and leave them with nothing, then it can be, very damaging. So I think that, for someone trying to help somebody else, the first port of call would be to, refer them or ask them, have they seen a doctor about it, get the doctor to refer them to mental health teams, rather than going straight in for environmental health.
Yeah, I know exactly. Do we know where this condition originates from? I guess they're trying to replace something they lost or they never had. Do we know how it starts?
Like many sort of addictions or problems of this nature, it does often stem from loss. And so, somebody might suffer a bereavement, or they might lose their job, or their relationship might break down, and they might turn to drinking, or they might turn to comfort eating, and some people turn to hoarding. And for my mum, I think it started off with the death of her father when she was very, very little, when she was about 3 or 4 years old. And then she moved from Cyprus to the UK, and again lost all her sort of familiarity and her life and her friends and her toys and things. As a child, that's really important, and it was compounded over the years through other losses, and just got worse and worse and worse. So it's really, really difficult. It's really sad to hear about people having falls, or people getting stuck in fires. And this week is Hoarding Awareness Week, which is something that's been set up by the fire service, which I think is really, really important, not only for the general public, the hoarders themselves, to realise that actually they're putting themselves in danger, and if there's something that they can do about it, then that would be the best way forward.
What kind of stuff was your mum hoarding? Was it stuff that connected her with home?
It was all kinds of things. I mean, it's literally, for a lot of hoarders, it will be a case of they'll walk down the street, they'll see something that someone else has discarded, and they'll think, what a waste. I can take that. I could fix that. It might be an old broken chair. All that needs is reupholstering. But they never get around to doing those things, and they don't have the space or the time to do those things. And so for my mum, she had a few things that she really liked, which was china, clothes, magazines. Lots of people collect newspapers. Lots of people collect tools and craft materials. And, but really it's just everything. I think that's one of the big differences between hoarding and collecting, is a collector will just have one type of thing, whether it be a set of magazines that they really like from the 70s. But a hoarder will collect all the magazines that they ever come across, even the free magazines that are given away with newspapers and things, and won't be able to let them go because they feel that it would be a waste. There might be information that they've missed in there. I mean, I think if anyone's really struggling with it, then have a look at the website helpforhoarders.co.uk, and there's lots of tips and advice and lots of like-minded people on the members forum, so you can communicate with other people who are affected by hoarding.
I would imagine that the hoarders themselves, for the most part, don't recognise that they have a problem. Just like an anorexic person looks in the mirror and doesn't see a true image of themselves, then a hoarder isn't going to see that their house is a mess and is being taken over. Is it up to family members? Can family members do things to kind of say, Mum, maybe you need to speak to someone?
Well, of course, family members can do that, and, it caused a lot of arguments and a lot of stress in my family home as I was growing up, because my mum did believe that it was just a question of she just hadn't had quite enough time to sort things out. She just didn't have quite enough space to store things properly. And obviously, when it gets to the point that you can't actually get into the rooms, you can't have a bath in the bathroom, you can't cook in the kitchen because it's full to the brim of stuff and you can't get in there, then that's when you've got a really serious problem. And family members, it can be extremely frustrating and upsetting, and you feel like, for me it was embarrassing, it was shameful. I felt like I didn't have any rights at home to have the home the way I would have liked to have it. But I think at the same time it's important to have some distance from the situation and to be able to see it with proper perspective. And it's hard to do that when you're living in a situation that affects you day to day, but trying to be supportive and trying to encourage your loved one to get some help will probably be more effective than throwing things out behind their back and then they find out and then you fall out and it all goes wrong. So that would be my advice, really.
Jasmine, what's the website again if people want to have a look?
helpforhoarders.co.uk.
OK, it will be remiss of me not to mention this having you on. I'm a big fan of Place in the Sun. Did any of those... Oh, no, we love it. We series link it in our house. Did any of those people ever actually buy the Place in the Sun, or were they just going for a free jolly?
Oh, well, if they're going for a free jolly, then they soon realise it's not much of a jolly. I'm meeting my house hunters this morning at 8 o'clock, so it's quite long days and it's quite early start. But yeah, no, we've had lots and lots of people buying, because I think it depends on the property market at the time. We go from ranging from sometimes 75% of people who do buy down to, I think in the last few years when the property market has been more unstable, there have been fewer people buying. But I've been doing this for 10 years, so it's, you see it ebb and flow, and at the moment lots of people are buying, so it's really fantastic. I'm actually doing the home leg of the Place in the Sun, home or away at the moment, so I'm down in Cornwall this week.
Not quite nice, but not.
Oh, it's lovely.
You've drawn the short straw. You've drawn the short straw, surely.
No, not at all. It's been wonderful actually exploring different parts of the UK as well. So,
Jasmine, it's very nice to talk to you. Keep up the good work, and thanks very much indeed. That's Jasmine Harmon, presenter of the TV show Hoarders, and of course the excellent Place in the Sun. 08459 455 555.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Starting to build up now on the A1, the Great North Road, just before the Black Cat roundabout. One lane still closed in Stevenage, that's on Hitchin Road, just between the Lister Hospital roundabout and Gunnelswood Road. There's been an accident there. The M1 heading southbound looking rather heavy at the moment between junction 11 Dunstable Road and junction 9 for Redbourne. The M25 heading anti-clockwise on the speed sensors, very slow at the moment between junction 21 the M1 and junction 19 for Watford. And taking a look so far in Boreham Wood, looking very slow on the Barnet bypass. That's between Stirling Corner and Mill Hill Circus. No reported problems on the trains. Nicola Richards, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much. Lots of interesting Facebook comments coming up about hoarding. We'll get to those after the latest news and sport with Simon.
Across beds, hearts and bugs.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
The headlines: police in Bedfordshire are defending the use of volunteers to carry out speed checks in their local area. The Alliance of British Drivers has described it as vigilante action. Search teams looking for 4 British sailors who've been missing in the Atlantic for almost a week say they've seen debris close to where the yacht went missing. And polling stations have opened this morning for European elections and council elections across Hertfordshire and in Milton Keynes. All the council seats in Milton Keynes are up for election, with a mayoral election also taking place in Watford.
Three Counties Sports.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Practice starts this morning ahead of Sunday's Monaco Grand Prix. Hertfordshire's Lewis Hamilton leads the Drivers' Championship after winning the last 4 races. Hamilton hopes the street circuit will mean a more competitive race.
Obviously, I think it will bring us closer because we don't have long straights anyway. So I'm hoping that brings things closer and we can get some good racing out of Ferrari and Red Bull. Yeah, I'm excited for that. Yeah, I have a feeling McLaren could be good as well this weekend. But we'll wait and see.
The former Watford manager Gianfranco Zola has confirmed his interest in the vacancy at Norwich. Another former Watford manager, Malky Mackay, is also being strongly linked with the job at Carrow Road. England have won a football tournament on penalties. England under-17s beat the Netherlands 4-1 in a shootout after a 1-1 draw in the final of the European Under-17 Championships in Malta. And former Stevenage striker Jordan Burrow has joined conference side Lincoln after being released by the Borough. Golf's PGA Championship starts at Wentworth today. Woburn's Ian Poulter is set to play despite a back injury, but as Ian Carter explains, Rory McIlroy will be under the spotlight after calling off his wedding to his tennis star girlfriend just days after the invitations went out.
McIlroy admits concentration will be difficult in the wake of the news of his split with Caroline Wozniacki. Yesterday he appeared shattered and downbeat, but he knows this is the start of a crucial period in his golfing year, and it's been a frustrating season with no wins so far. He's an afternoon starter today, as is Ian Poulter, who rates his chances of playing at 70% after injuring his back in the gym last week.
And England's cricketers start a 5-match one-day series against Sri Lanka at the Oval this afternoon. The day-night match starts at 1 o'clock. BBC Three Counties News and Sport. The next full bulletin is at 8.
Call 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
So, lots to talk about. Speed cameras. It's not quite what I thought. It's not civilians with speed guns. It's civilians standing by those signs that do a happy face if you're doing under 30 and a sad face with tears if you're doing over 30. And they're looking at a sad face. Right, jot down his number. That's what it is. It's not really.
Well, that's not what the press release said.
It's not. No, I know, and it's not really. I mean, anyone can do that. Can't they? Anyone can stand by a sign with a notepad.
Yeah, but it needs to have a sensor on it too. tell you what speed you're going.
Yeah, anyone can stand by a
Standing by a sign with a notepad. Yeah, that's not illegal.
Okay, let me clear it up for the pedants amongst you, Catherine. Among you, anyone can stand next to a sign with a speed camera thing in it, and with
sensor, you mean?
Yeah, and a notepad. I could do that. What training do I need for that? I don't need no training. Answer me. Answer me!
Well,
Answer me!
Clearly they need training to know when to hand over a letter explaining why they're there, and when to inform the authorities that someone is very naughty. Indeed.
Ian's in Watford. Good morning, Ian.
Yes, hello there.
What would you like to say, sir?
Yes, I'm just saying, all the fuss about the Drivers' Alliance making about Bedfordshire, it's already in operation in South West Hart.
Oh, really?
Yes, in the Oxley Moor Park area. The only criticism I have of it is when they're trained, because there's health and safety issues and all this sort of stuff, but all that they have to stand around with high visibility.
Oh, for goodness.
Jackets on.
What is the health and safety about standing on the pavement looking at the traffic?
Well, that's right. You never know what these days, do you? And then the police specify where you stand to do the actual speed testing.
Oh, blimey.
So it's not quite as easy as it stands out. I've got a friend who was doing it, actually. And it is, as you say, it's just these signs that, and they say you've got to have visibility and the rest of it. You go along a week later, perhaps, at a different point, there is a policeman there with a speed gun without high visibility vests on and that sort of thing.
I suppose if it makes the road safer, Ian, that's got to be a good thing. But I'm not convinced how much safer it does make things.
Well, no, it doesn't make the road safer at all.
It makes that bit, I would suggest, perhaps even more dangerous, as people are slowing down because there are people in high-vis jackets. Then when they turn the corner, they're speeding up again.
Quite right, that's right, yes.
Ian, thank you very much indeed. 08459 455 555. We're talking about that. We're also asking, have you ever had a creature in your house that didn't belong there? 08459 455 555. And on the subject of hoarding, we've got some Facebook comments. Richard says, we know hoarding is a well-documented psychological condition. Should we be publishing pictures of mental health problems? There are pictures on the Facebook page. Perhaps we should go back to charging to see the lunatics in the asylum. Yeah, of course we should be posting pictures. We're not posting pictures of someone going, hey, look at this nut job. Hey, look at this weirdo. We're saying, look, this is a really serious situation that has got out of hand and luckily has resulted in no deaths, but has resulted in quite a serious fire.
I don't think we mentioned the word lunatics either, did we?
No.
No, there's a number of people who have concerns that we are sort of pointing and staring at this, but actually I think that it's the ignoring it that's led to allow it to spiral out of control.
You want to turn your back? You want to turn your back and look the other way, brother? Of course not. We need to look at these things. We're not laughing at this woman. Au contraire. Au contraire. I think, I hope we're handling this in a very sympathetic stroke empathetic way. And we Justin spoke to some of the neighbours who were very concerned, not only about this lady, but they were also rightfully concerned about their own property because it poses a risk to other people.
But they were put in a really difficult situation, and Justin did ask very gently whether they felt they should have done something. He said, well, how can you say to somebody that the way they're living isn't right?
Oh, well, so, Richard, I hope that addresses your concerns. Denise says, and posting this is acceptable, I don't think. I'm assuming in connection to Richard's post. Zahida says, my mother is a hoarder. Unfortunately, it's a condition. Many times we have decluttered the house. She just goes back and gets more. But unless you realise you need help, they just go back and get more stuff. Geraldine says, I think it's good to show hoarders what can happen. I love stuff, and I know it's a sort of comfort to me having loads of pictures and books, but when hoarding can endanger your life and your neighbours' lives, then it's serious. Jill says, OMG, that's a ridiculous amount of... Oh, my God. That's a ridiculous amount of possessions. Didn't she have any visitors to help, or at least contact someone to help? Was it Mr. Trebus? Mr. Trebus was a famous hoarder who was on a programme that was filmed in Crouch End in North London, and I used to watch it because I used to live just round the corner from it. And he was kind of... I think was one of the first times that hoarding was highlighted. Was he the fella that was it someone else that was digging tunnels under the house to hoard more stuff?
Oh, I'm not sure about that.
Maybe it wasn't Trebus.
I remember the plastic bags.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't Mr. Trebus. But there was someone who had so much stuff, they were digging tunnels under their house to hoard the stuff. And the house, it was a miracle the house was still standing. I mean, it's an odd one, isn't it? It's an odd one. 08459 455 555. If you think we are wrong to be discussing it, I mean, you can give us a call and have a chat about that. Loads of you on Twitter talking about animals, creatures that have been in your house that didn't belong there. Let's...
Or animal intruders. Call me now. 08459 455
Well, Justin is doing a Vox with both of those questions.
Yeah. We know which one's going to work.
Well, OK. Carl says, I had a crow down my chimney on... Well, OK, I'll read it as he's written it. I'm having to add words. Crow down chimney on dark and stormy night that refused to leave the sitting room.
Oh.
If that was a title of a film, I'd watch that.
Yeah. What's it about, though?
Adele says, bat in the bedroom. Hubby and Jack Russell were terrified. The Jack Russell ate a pigeon uninvited in the home. I screamed for hours. The garden was white with feathers. A fox weed on my clothes, said Urban James.
Oh, dear.
Midnight muddy Rottweiler invasion. Ian says, I had a disabled wild rabbit in the house. The cat gave it to me as a present. How thoughtful. And Glenn says, this is my fear, you see. My other half woke up one night a few weeks ago with a spider in her ear.
Ugh.
And that's another kind of topic, uninvited creatures in your body. And we can, this is a very specific part of the Venn diagram.
I often get a fly in the eye.
Sorry?
A fly in the eye.
Oh, I remember I had a flying ant in my eye as a child. Flying ants? What's that about? There's a flying ant day, isn't there, where they just all learn to fly for a day?
Yeah, I don't know where they get the memo. But they do all en masse. Wasn't there a big swarm of bees in London a couple of days ago, and they all stuck to a... Yes, there was, and they all stuck to a window on Oxford Street.
Mate, you're making stuff up.
No, I'm not. I can find you the Ev.
Yeah, because if it's on the internet, Catherine, it must be true.
BBC covered it.
Well, if it's on the BBC, it must be true. Conspiracy theory, # not.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
Colin's in Dunstable. Morning, Colin.
Good morning. She's quite correct.
About what? The BBC?
The bees.
What about the bees?
There was a whole swarm, I think it was about 500 or 5,000.
Well, hang on a minute. 500 or 5,000?
Yeah, I can't remember.
Well, Colin, there's a big difference, mate.
All right, but however many they were...
Don't come
they
on.
They were all over this window in Oxford Street.
For the first part, Colin, you've got the number incorrect. 500 or 5,000, there's a big difference.
Yes, I admit that.
Well, so I can't trust the rest of your story if you're making up numbers to back it up.
Well, it was on the BBC. I haven't got my computer open at the moment. I can't check it up.
I have, Colin. It was 5,000 bees swarm on shop window in London's Victoria Street.
Yeah.
There we go.
What you've done is you've confused the inside of a baker's window with one lonely wasp and a made-up story.
No.
There were not...
Look at that.
There were not 5,000 bees. Oh, my God, there were 5,000 bees on the window!
Yes.
That is nuts!
That must have been some deal they were looking at.
Flippin' heck!
Mm-hmm.
Cheap honey. Sweet.
Anyway.
What would you do? I would be tempted. I tell you what I love, and this is why you've got to love the Chinese. They're always covering themselves in bees. The Chinese are always covering themselves in bees. But what the Americans do better than the Chinese, the Americans do bee beards.
Oh, yes, I've seen
beards made out of bees. Wonderful.
Hey, I'm about to synchronise 2 strands of the programme. Get ready for this.
What?
You know we were talking about Touch the Van?
No.
Touch the Truck.
Yes, we go. Thank you, yes.
They're playing Touch the Window.
The
bees.
Yeah. OK, I've just turned her off, Colin. We'll just be me and you now for the rest of this. We can handle this, can't we?
Right, Mr. Trevis.
Mr. Trebus?
Yes.
Yes.
It was a programme about environmental health in North London.
Yes. It was a good programme, wasn't it?
Sorry?
It was a good programme, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Very interesting. But he didn't do any tunnels. He just had his whole house.
Stop the clock. Stop for a second, Colin, because Catherine's banging in my ear. What?
We've had some communication from our Uxbridge correspondent.
Yeah, that's not really in Beds, Hearts or Bucks.
No, but it's interesting.
Well...
Swarms. Swarm news. Bee news.
Yeah?
It's the BBC.
Oh.
They had a swarm in Uxbridge. It was quite big. But it was only 1,500. It wasn't up to Victoria Street standards.
OK, Colin, this is back to me and you. So, Mr. Trebus, yes?
Yeah, but he didn't dig any tunnels.
Who was the There was a tunneller.
I don't remember that one, I have to confess.
What was the name of that programme? Because I wouldn't mind seeing that again. That was a good programme.
Oh, I don't remember. It was a good few years ago now, wasn't it?
It was about 10 years ago, I think, and I liked it because I lived just around the corner from where it was filmed.
Yeah, my mum was born around there.
Yeah, oh.
In Wood Green.
Oh, yeah, I know Wood Green. Wood Green has got a cinema called Hollywood Green.
Has it?
Yeah, it's a bit desperate.
Down there for years.
Yeah, I wouldn't bother. I used to go busking there.
Did you?
Yeah. Anything else, Colin?
I'm trying to think of the name of this
I'll tell you what, stay there. We'll do the travel, the news, the weather, and then we'll come back to you.
Okay.
And you will have the name of the programme, all right? Good lad.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
On the A1, there's a lane blocked at the moment between St Neots and the Kimbolton turn-off because of an accident. In Stevenage, one lane's closed at the moment on Hitchin Road. That's between the Lister Hospital roundabout and Gunnelswood Road, due to an accident that happened a little earlier on. The M1 heading southbound, very heavy at the moment between junction 12 at Flitwick and junction 9 for Redbourne. Taking a look at the M25, very slow heading anti-clockwise between junction 21, the M1, and junction 19 for Watford. And taking a look at also anti-clockwise, heavy between 18 at Chorleywood and 16, the M40. So far, no reported problems on the trains. Nicola Richards, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much. Right, 7:46. It's Thursday, the 22nd of May. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. Police in Bedfordshire say more and more people are signing up to carry out speed checks in their local area. The Alliance of British Drivers has described it as vigilante action. Debris has been found in the Atlantic where the missing British yacht is thought to have disappeared. And neighbours of a St Albans woman who was injured in a fire at her home say it was an accident waiting to happen because of the amount of belongings she's hoarded. Coming up, will Colin in Dunstable have the name of the programme Life of Grime? We'll find out after the weather with Wendy.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning. Some heavy and persistent rain overnight. We had about half an inch in High Wycombe, and that means we are covered by a yellow weather warning by the Met Office today for the rain, because it's left some big puddles and some spray on the roads as you're going about the counties this morning, but also because we're going to start seeing some heavy downpours, thundery showers moving up from the south as we go through the afternoon. Now, they won't be for everyone, but I expect there will be some about that are going to cause a few problems here and there. In between, the sun should come out and temperatures will be getting about as high as 18 or 19 degrees Celsius, so not too bad a temperature, but it will take the sunshine to get us there. As we go through the evening and overnight, we've still got those showers knocking around, but they're largely going to fizzle out by the early hours of the morning, and so we start the day tomorrow with a temperature around about 11 degrees Celsius across the three counties, and also hopefully some dry weather. Looks set to continue actually through the day tomorrow. Not a bad end to the week. There will be some sunny spells, especially into the afternoon, and although we're at the risk of a shower, I think they will be pretty isolated. Temperatures, again, 18, maybe 19 degrees Celsius. It will feel cooler on Saturday, I think, because we're going to have a band of showers moving up from the south once again, which will spoil things a bit. But gradually, slowly but surely, through the bank holiday weekend, things are going to improve. So by the time we get to Monday, temperatures will be back up to about 18 degrees Celsius, and there should be some dry and sunny weather. That's how it's looking so far.
Thank you very much. My ears are killing me.
BBC Three Counties Radio's big tour of Beds, Hearts and Bucks.
This afternoon, as part of our big tour, I'm heading to the Buckinghamshire market town of Wendover.
Nick Coffer.
I'll be there from midday, meeting the locals and finding out why it's such a great place to live.
It's just absolutely great. It's got so much to offer.
Plus, I'll discover the local alpaca farm and have a go at making chocolate in the Chocolate Theatre in the centre of the High Street.
Nick Coffer.
Live from Wendover as part of our big tour, today from midday. Here on BBC Three Counties Radio.
No, not because of you, Nick. It's just because everything Catherine is doing next door is wrong. Stop doing that.
What?
So we were speaking to Colin in Dunstable before the break. We were asking if he could remember the name of the documentary series A Life of Grime. Colin, do you remember the name of it?
I think so. I think it might be The Life of Grime.
Excellent stuff indeed, Colin. Well worth hanging on for. Thank you very much indeed.
Across Beds, Hearts and Bucks.
This is Iain Lee.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Polls have opened across Beds, Hearts and Bucks in the European and local elections. The polls close tonight at 10 p.m. Now, we had a caller through to the programme yesterday asking if he needed his polling card. Tony is from Great Linford. Morning, Tony.
Good morning.
What was your problem again, Tony? Remind us.
I know one doesn't need a voting card to vote. You just walk into the polling station and give your name and address. But this year, I haven't had the usual polling card.
Now, are you sure you've not had it? Because sometimes it gets lost with the pizza delivery things and the curry menus and things. Are you sure you didn't throw it away by accident?
Yeah, that's the only thing I've been thinking of, because with Royal Mail now, you get so much mail dump coming through the letterbox. You know, about 20 different pizza things and everything else. It could have been amongst that. Because I get so annoyed with it, I just grab the whole lot and chuck it in the bin. So that's the only possibility. But
what about your neighbours? Have you spoken to?
I've spoken to my neighbours. Well, a few that I can get hold of anyway, and they don't remember seeing a card either. You see. Now I know that you don't need a card to vote. But that worries me as well, because anybody can impersonate anybody without...
Yeah, that's it. Because I thought you did need the little white cards. Stay there, Tony, because a political reporter, Paul Scoynes, is here. Paul, I don't know if you've ever been the victim of mail dump. If not, you soon will be. But you don't need the polling card, do you? You can just rock up.
No, the polling card, Ian, is for your information only. It's to tell you when the poll is, what time the poll's open, what time they close, and the location of the polling station. So you're absolutely right. So, Tony, you don't need a polling card. What you will need to do when you go to the polling station is obviously give your name, and they usually ask for address as well, and that's how they verify. So that's how they can check that, and that's, you know, there's no sinister reason behind that for knowing what way you're going to vote. It is literally just a way of verifying that you're on the electoral register.
But what's to stop people going in and saying, yeah, my name's Tony, I'm from Great Linford, I'd like to vote, please?
Well, you would need to know Tony's exact address.
OK. I'm sure I could find that out.
Well, OK. I mean, yeah, that's a valid point, and there is a lot of trust placed on the individual when they go to vote. I mean, there are other systems around the world which require, PIN numbers and logins and barcodes and various other things. But the way the UK has operated for, well, certainly, I'm going to go out on a limb here, hundreds of years, is that you turn out and you present yourself and you are given a voting slip and you put it in the ballot box.
So there are local elections in some places today. There are also European elections. The European elections tally isn't going to be counted until the weekend, is it?
No, you won't know the results of those until Sunday at 9 at the earliest, because that's when the European other countries stop their voting. So they vote on Sundays in a lot of places.
Ah, I see. Okay, right.
And so we won't hear anything about the Euros until Sunday evening. We've got around 200 seats up for grabs in the local elections around Beds, Herts. Well, not Beds, Herts and Bucks, just Milton Keynes and Herts, actually. I keep sort of lumping Milton Keynes in with Bucks.
Because we get complaints about that now.
We do. All seats up for grabs in Milton Keynes, all seats up for grabs in Three Rivers. You've also got a mayoral election in Watford as well. So you've got lots of sort of local elections in Hertfordshire and a mayoral one too. And we'll start knowing those tonight, actually. They're going to start counting some of those polls in Hertfordshire overnight. So tomorrow morning I'll be able to tell you who's won in a few of those seats. And then the big one, I guess, because it is the biggest town in our area, Milton Keynes, is going to be known tomorrow afternoon, probably late afternoon, early evening. And that's because of all of the seats in Milton Keynes. All 57 are up for grabs because of a boundary review. So it's quite exciting. We've got, that'll be quite a different picture of a council potentially.
And you have made it sound very exciting, Paul.
Really?
I'll let you get back to your excitement. Isn't it interesting? We have to tread so carefully on election days what we can and cannot say, and I think we just about got away with it.
I think we did. We're fine.
Thank you very much indeed. Speak to you later on. Tony, while I've got you on, and I hope you don't mind me bringing this up, Catherine Boyle, my producer, has whispered in my ear that, by coincidence, you're also a hoarder.
How dare you?
Have I crossed the line?
I'm a serious collector.
What? How does it manifest itself? What are you, in inverted commas, collecting?
Radios, tape recorders, microphones, cassette recorders, anything that ought to do with audio. I don't collect many televisions, mainly from the 1950s through to the 70s. I mean, my ambition is to save as many of these things as I can, repair and restore them, and then eventually pass them on to a museum.
Eventually pass them on to a museum. Have you passed any of them on yet?
No.
So how many...
I can't let them go yet. They're my babies.
Have you repaired them yet?
Yeah, slow progress. Right. It takes at least between 1 and 3 months if you've got some bad ones that really need good work. But once they're done, they are in pristine, original work.
So how many of these things have you got around the house?
Sorry?
About 700 radios.
Yeah.
200 odd tape recorders of various sorts, cassette reel-to-reels and other such things. Microphones about 150, radios around 350.
So I'm guessing your house. This is a lot of stuff, and I'm guessing your house is kind of piled up. Is it scattered everywhere, or have you got a specific room?
It's everywhere, anywhere, because I live in a very small one-bedroom bungalow.
Yeah.
And I used to previously live in a much bigger place where I started collecting, and I've been here 7 years now, and I've only finally got it all from various sites I had it stored into my one bungalow now. So
can you walk freely around your home?
I hobble around. I have to do a particular style of walking to get past the wall of whatever it is that might fall over.
And what do your family or your friends say?
Well, my sister collects shaving mugs, so she's into that. My nephew's caught the bug from me, and the whole of their new conservatory is full of stuff.
Yeah.
So really, they're on my side.
Tony, I'm going to ask you a question. Why don't you just chuck it all out? Because you're never going to repair all of this. You're never going to give it all to a museum. Chuck it out. Why can't you?
I shall read you a poem.
What?
Oh, if you don't stop doing that, I shall read you a poem.
But don't you dare. All right, Tony, I feel we're touching a raw nerve.
I presume we've got equal status now between...
Well, I think we have.
Back off.
Tony, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ian.
Good luck with that. I do enjoy a nice reel-to-reel cassette recorder. I used to love a reel-to-reel. They used to scare me a little bit as a child. I don't know why, but there's something about them. Isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting? By pure coincidence. And you could kind of sense a little nerve was being touched there. Now, in the great scheme of things, Tony knows he's not going to repair all of those. If it takes 2 months to record them, he's got 300-odd radios and 200-odd cassette recorders and however many reel-to-reels. He's not going to fix them all. Yet he is unable to get rid of them. He has to do a sideways shuffle to get around his house. I'm not judging him at all. I'm not judging him in the slightest. You know, people live how they choose to live. The shaving mugs, though, that's an odd... It's odd what the brain fixates on and decides, do you know what, I need more of those. I can't get enough of those things.
I think the difference is between that kind of collecting. He says he's a serious collector.
Yeah.
It seems he can't pass one by without picking it up.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas other collectors might say, no, I've got one of those. I don't need another one of those. That's interesting. I'll pursue that.
Yeah. 08459 455 555. And contrary to what, some people on Facebook are doing, we're not making light of this. I wasn't taking the mick out of Tony. I'm genuinely curious to try and find out the psychology behind it, because it is. I'm not saying Tony is, but it could be perceived in others. You might perceive it in Tony as a form of mental illness, as a form of, in the same way that depression is, and anxiety is, and addiction is, and anorexia is. What is it? Let's do some psychology. It's a compulsion. It's a way, I would imagine, of controlling your environment. Control is often a big thing in these things. We realise that we are powerless, so we try and effect a control over something. It's not wanting to let things go, which would imply there is some kind of... I'm doing COD psychology. If you can help out, 08459 455 555. You're holding on to things which would imply at some point in your life you have lost something and you are trying to regain it. What is it? I don't know. The brain is a curious and strange thing, isn't it? If you can give us a call on that, maybe you've got a friend or a relative who's kind of afflicted by it. 08459 455 555.
In my time, I've come across someone whose children are sleeping on the sofa because they can't get into their bedrooms because of her stuff.
Wow.
How does it get to that point?
Wow. You just don't see it. That's the thing. You don't see it.
She's a perfectly functioning person. And what goes on behind closed doors is what goes on behind closed doors, but it's affecting the rest of the family.
During the news, and I don't mean this in an aggressive way, can I show you my fist?
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I'll show you in a minute.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
There's one lane blocked on the A1 heading northbound between St Neots and the Kimbolton turn-off because of a broken down car. In Stevenage, one lane's closed at the moment on Hitchin Road. That's between the Lister Hospital roundabout and Gunnelswood Road because of an accident. And the M1 heading southbound looking rather slow on the sensors between junction 12 at Flitwick and junction 9 for Redbourne. Queuing on the North Orbital Road just off the M25. And taking a look at the M25 heading clockwise, rather slow around junction 25 for Enfield. So far, no reported problems on the trains. Nicola Richards, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Nicola. But there's just something odd going on with my fist, and I need to get a second opinion. I'd forgotten about it until I glanced down at it. Are you or someone you know a hoarder? And when has a creature been in your house that didn't belong there? We'll find out more after the news with Simon.
Local and vocal across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's 8 o'clock. The headlines. Police defend speedwatch in Bedfordshire. Neighbours say St Albans fire was accident waiting to happen. And strike threat on Thameslink trains.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Police in Bedfordshire are defending the use of volunteers to carry out speed checks in their local area. Speedwatch is underway in the county with civilians trained to use speed guns with data passed on to the police. The Alliance of British Drivers has described it as vigilante action, but Chief Inspector Neil Waring from Bedfordshire Police says the volunteers have an important role.
It's empowering the communities really to actually start helping to sort of make their places safe for themselves. The police can ultimately take action in relation to this, but we want to actually understand the level of the issues and the problems. And you know as well as I do that public cuts these days, and I'm not going to hang this all off the back of public cuts, mean that we can't be everywhere doing everything all the time.
Neighbours of a St Albans woman who was injured after fire broke out in her home say it was an accident waiting to happen. Firefighters struggled to get into the property in Upper Culver Road yesterday morning because of the amount of belongings she'd hoarded. Carlton Lomax from St Albans District Council says it's difficult to take any legal action.
You know, it's her own home, she's a private person, she owns her own house. You know, you can do what you like in your own home to a certain extent as long as you don't bother anybody else. I mean, the fire hazard obviously is a concern, but you know, what's your house like? It's just unfortunate, you know, and luckily she's still alive and being cared for.
Search teams looking for 4 British sailors who've been missing in the Atlantic for almost a week say they've seen debris close to where the yacht went missing. It's not known whether it's part of the missing ship. The US Coast Guard is investigating. Polling stations have opened this morning for European elections and council elections across Hertfordshire and in Milton Keynes. All the council seats in Milton Keynes are up for election. Councils voting in Hertfordshire include St Albans, Stevenage, North Herts and Watford, with a mayoral election also taking place in Watford. Some councils are holding counts tonight, others tomorrow. Counting for the European elections won't take place until Sunday. An investigation is underway after a fire in a large outbuilding in Shenley in Hertfordshire in the early hours of this morning. Crews were called to Green Street just after 2:15. Rail engineers say they're being forced to take industrial action against First Capital Connect. Unions claim that staff at the Caldwell depot in Bedford will be left without work when Siemens takes up the contract to build new Thameslink trains. Steve Smart from the RMT told Iain they accept passengers will be affected.
If they do get affected by the maintenance not being undertaken by the members at Bedford Caldwell, which affects the running of the trains, yes, that is a very unfortunate situation.
So it's fair?
Well, it must be.
In sport, practice starts this morning ahead of Sunday's Monaco Grand Prix. Hertfordshire's Lewis Hamilton leads the Drivers' Championship after winning the last 4 races. And the former Watford manager Gianfranco Zola has confirmed his interest in the vacancy at Norwich. The weather, some sunshine this morning, but the rain will return and will be heavy and thundery this afternoon. A maximum temperature 19 degrees Celsius. And you can get the latest news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties.
BBC Three Counties Radio's big tour of beds, hearts and bucks.
I just think it's an absolutely fantastic place to live.
And all this week, we're featuring Wendover.
My dad actually worked at Holton Camp and he got posted.
It's all about where you live.
I moved here because my husband and I wanted to start a family.
It's just all such a lovely place.
It is a sustainable village.
The big tour of beds, hearts and bucks. BBC Three Counties Radio.
Sustain this. Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. Coming up, citizens on patrol. People in high-vis jackets standing by a sign that's got a speed sensor on and taking down your details. Good idea or not? Hoarding, it's a serious mental illness. There was a fire recently that was made worse by the fact that the woman's home was full of stuff. Has it affected you? And have you ever had a creature in your house that didn't belong there? Facebook.com/BBC3CR. Send me a text, 81333. Start your text 3CR. give me a call. 08459 455 555.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Oh, I was trying to catch your
Don't, we're talking about legals.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Oh,
Fade it
boy.
down.
Oh, boy. Before we go on to the not quite so important subject of legals, I showed you my fist.
Yes.
During the... And what do you think?
Ballooned.
Isn't it?
Yeah. It looks like you've either bruised it...
Well, there's a bruise on it.
You know, on the flat bit of your fist that really... If they put a shunt in, that really swells up. That's where you've got it.
It's called a stint.
A stent? No.
It's not called a shunt. I was closer.
Can I publicly apologise to Jack in Olney?
Why? Yeah.
I was on the phone to him.
It's not who I was expecting an apology to.
Iain was trying to show me his fist by pressing it against my eyeballs, and the headset I was on fell off.
Okay.
So while he was talking, I had to then bend under the table, pick up the headset, apologise. I just felt like it was a sloppy call that I took, and I'm more professional than that.
Okay, well, great apology to Jack.
Thanks.
I think you need to make another apology.
Sorry, Kath, for the incident when Iain came in and put his fist in my eye.
Oh, I'm used to it.
It made me sloppy as a...
Great apology. Well, you need to make another apology.
To...
me.
Why?
Because you punched me in the bad bit of my fist.
You were trying to put it in my eye.
Yeah, but you punched me in it and now it's sore.
Good, I'm glad.
Anyway, I think you've either bruised it lolling about in bed with your...
Lolling?
Mr. Tickle Arms.
Laughing out loud? Mr. Tickle Arms, what are you talking about?
Well, you know, your hand's a long way away from your body.
That's
you might
true.
have forgotten what you did with it.
I can't always reach my nose. No, hang on.
No, your nose is quite big.
Or you've been bitten.
Well, there's no bite there, mate.
Well, maybe not now. Maybe it happened while you were asleep.
Tony has texted in, hello 3CR people. Instead of talking back at the radio, I decided to text your show. When my wife was a kid and asleep in bed, her cat was pawing at her face and meowing quite a bit. The wife thought, how nice. The cat really likes me. Later on that day, when making her bed, she found a flat dead mouse under her pillow. Oh, no! Has there ever been a creature in your house that didn't belong to be there?
Didn't belong to be there.
Don't pick me up on that. Don't pick me up on that. Justin has been out asking animal invaders or creatures that have been in your home that didn't belong to be there, and he's going to come back and find out which one is the best of those two. Joe says, and it's a lady, Joe, I think, or a child or a man. A stray snake frightened the gas man. He stood on a box for half an hour till rescue came. Imagine having a terrified gas man in your house. It's like a low-budget version of that film, not Vibrations.
Cable Guy.
Not the Cable Guy. Critters. Is it? No, not Critters. Tremors. Where they're all stood on the roof shouting to each other.
That was like a boring film, wasn't it?
Oh, mate, no, it was a great film. There were things underneath the ground, and if you walked about too heavily... I've only ever seen Critters 3. I've never seen 1 or 2, and I'd love to.
Critters or Tremors?
Tremors. But Critters was a good film as well, but Tremors, man alive, what a great movie. Tremors 3. Now, Bedfordshire Police are training civilians to catch speeding drivers. I'm not quite sure how this is going to work. When we spoke to the police officer earlier on, he said, no, they won't have speed guns. They'll be standing beside one of those signs that has a smiley face if you're doing under 30 and a sad face if you're doing over 30. Well, in the village of Wrenhold, speed watch volunteers have been used for the last few years, and in 1 week they caught over 300 motorists speeding. Iain Slater is the chairman of Wrenhold Parish Council. Morning, Iain.
Good morning, Iain.
Now, the members who were doing this, they did have a speed gun, didn't they?
No, they didn't have a speed gun. They had a Smiley Sam.
They had a So what... is that just one of those signs with a sad face and a happy face?
It is just one of those signs, yes.
OK, so they're not holding anything. They're stood by there, and if the sign smiles, then everything's fine. If the sign is sad, what would they do?
If the Smiley Sam didn't smile, it would indicate the speed the motorist was travelling at, and if it was over 35 miles an hour, the volunteers would note down the make of the car, the colour, the registration number, the speed it was travelling at, and the time, and that information would then be passed on to the police. And of course, the motorist had seen the Smiley Sam, so they knew they were exceeding the speed limit.
Why did you start doing this in Wrenhold?
It's a long story, but I'll make it very short. When the Great Barford Bypass was proposed, the A421, it was acknowledged that Reynolds was the one village in the county that would suffer an adverse effect through increased traffic. No one seemed to be believing that, and we weren't getting the assistance we felt we should be getting, so we volunteered to be Community Speedwatch volunteers, and in the 1 week that you've already referred to, the fact that we caught 305 motorists travelling over 35 miles an hour in just 10 two-hour sessions, and some of those I have to say were doing over 50, encouraged the Borough Council and the police that there was a problem in Reynolds, and apart from writing to all of those motorists, they started bringing the camera van to Reynolds on a reasonably regular basis and looking at other measures that might be undertaken in order to slow traffic racing through the village.
Was there ever any confrontation between drivers who got out and had words with these volunteers?
No, there wasn't. We anticipated it. In fact, the new volunteers, we did this 4 years ago. We've been slow taking it up since then because health and safety has intervened in the meantime, and now we require to be trained in health and safety issues, and those who are going to lead the teams have to attend a police one-day course on emergency life support, senior first aid, if you like, and conflict management, so that if situations do arise, without the assistance of the police or anybody else, there is someone on site who can deal with that situation.
So it's a punch avoidance course, basically, to diffuse any situations or to deal with them if something happens. Does that put people off?
I don't think it's put people off. We've had 4 people trained in Reynolds now, and then there's another dozen who've been on a shorter course, which does mean that one of the 4 has to be at each session that we run, but then we can make up the teams using the dozen of other people who've had the training on the equipment and health and safety.
Do you think it works, Ian? Has it in the past made Reynolds safer?
The traffic does go more slowly, and when the exercise was repeated with automatic number plate recognition cameras, it was found that only 30-odd people were still going through the village who had been going through a year earlier. So it's putting people off going through the village. That, together with traffic lights that we've had put in near the church and the school, and we are shortly this year going to have average speed cameras. So over a length of 2 to 3 miles, motorists are going to have to travel at 30 miles an hour or less, and evidence elsewhere suggests that does put people off going through those areas altogether.
Ian, thank you very much. And, who can argue against making roads and villages safer? I don't think anybody can. Ian Slater, Chairman of Reynolds Parish Council. We've got a text here that says, I think the 3 are Thursby, Elton John and Everybody's Talking, although I believe Bernie Taupin also wrote for Edith Piaf. Well, we would... Congratulations, you got the answers right, but unfortunately you've not put your name on there, so we can't send you the prize, which is a shame, isn't it? I didn't think...
I would put a question mark over the Edith Piaf allusion.
Well, no, yes, I know exactly, but the Thursby, Elton John and Everybody's Talking are absolutely spot on.
For sure, yeah.
What is the prize?
Well, the prize was going to be Edith Piaf, but unfortunately, because we haven't got a name, we can't award it. But well done. So that's that competition closed, and we'll be playing that again next week. Jack's in Olney. Morning, Jack.
Morning.
That's a genuine text we received.
Yeah, it's random.
Absolutely random. That's my wistful voice. Jack, what have you got for us?
I work in pest control, and the strangest thing we've ever been called to is we got called to a lady that apparently had rats in her bedroom. So we went to the job, and I turned up and had a look around the bedroom, and I found a hedgehog upstairs underneath her chest of drawers.
What? And that's not a euphemism. That was actually a hedgehog.
It was actually a hedgehog, yeah. Somehow it had got in through the front door, upstairs, and under her chest of drawers.
That is disgusting. What was it eating?
Don't know.
That is
really
disgusting. And I've said this before. I've got no time for hedgehogs. They are filthy, dirty. They're flea-ridden, aren't they?
They can be, yeah.
Absolutely flea-ridden. I say get rid of... Some people buy hedgehogs as pets.
Strange.
Yeah, get rid of them all.
I also, the same company, we do a lot of work for councils with house clearances for people that...
I bet you see some incredible stuff.
Oh, we really do,
Go
yes. One of the worst things I've ever seen is a drug user's house, and they were using spurts of blood from their arteries after they'd injected to play noughts and crosses on the ceiling. That was odd.
Wowzers, that's an image. Hope you're enjoying your trip to school, kids.
And another one we saw, you've heard of the saying organised chaos, organised mess.
Yes, organised, yes, one of them.
We went into a property and a gentleman had not thrown anything away for a long time.
Yeah.
And in one corner of the room was about 200 pizza boxes.
Wow.
In the other corner was 200 burger boxes.
Hey.
And he used his oven for some reason as a rubbish bin for old tea bags. So he'd throw them into the oven.
Yeah.
And when they overflowed out of the oven, there was just a big mountain of tea bags there.
Flipping it. Have you ever... I guess if you... Did you ever go into these dirty places when the residents were still there, or are they normally kind of passed on or something?
They'd normally left, but we have been to a couple where children have been taken out of the property and we've had to go in and clear it before the children could come back in.
Oh, how heartbreaking. Jack, I could talk to you all morning. Oh, dear. 08459 455 555. Yeah, if you've just tuned in, you just missed Jack telling us how drug users were using blood from their needle to play noughts and crosses on their ceilings, guys. Good morning.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
The A1, the Great North Road, looking at slow on the speed sensor at the moment, just before the Black Hat roundabouts. In Stevenage, one lane is still closed. That's on Hitchin Road, heading into town between Lister Hospital roundabout and Gunnelswood Road. That's because of an accident that happened a little earlier on this morning. The M1 heading southbound, heavy going between Junction 11, Dunstable Road and Junction 10 for Luton Airport. And taking a look at the M25 heading anti-clockwise, very slow moving between Junction 21, the M1, and Junction 16, the M40. The Barnet bypass in Borehamwood looking slow between Stirling Corner and Mill Hill Circus. So far on the trains, no reported problems or delays. Nicola Richards, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much. I like the way she kind of hangs on the 3 and then falls over the edge of the cliff into Counties Radio. That's how I imagine it in my head. BBC Three, top of the cliff, going to jump over the edge of the cliff into Counties Radio. Excellent. That's what I like that. It's 8:17. It's BBC Three. Over the edge of the cliff, Counties Radio. These are your headlines on Thursday the 22nd of May. Police in Bedfordshire are defending the use of volunteers to carry out speed checks in their local area. The Alliance of British Drivers has described it as vigilante action. Neighbours of a St Albans woman who was injured in a fire at her home say it was an accident waiting to happen because of the amount of belongings she'd hoarded. And search teams looking for 4 British sailors who've been missing in the Atlantic for almost a week say they've seen debris close to where the yacht went missing.
BBC Three Counties Radio. BBC Three Counties Radio's big tour of beds, hearts and bucks.
Once you go out to the village, into the hills and things like that, you'll just see what a fantastic place it is.
Inviting everyone to where you live.
Well, I have to say its location is amazing.
And all this week, we're featuring Wendover.
You've got the Wendover Woods, it's a nicer community.
If you've got a story everyone should hear about, let us tell them about it.
We've got lots of facilities, great schools, and all within a walking distance of each other.
You're surrounded by countryside, but you've got all the facilities you want in Wendover.
The big tour of beds, hearts and bucks, featuring Wendover, from BBC Three Counties Radio.
See, that lady there says it's BBC Three Counties Radio.
Yes.
BBC Three
Counties Radio. Yes, I'm not sure about the pause.
Oh. You don't appreciate the...
No, I don't. It's BBC Three Counties Radio.
Well, it could be
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Well, why not? It's still...
But it's not.
Gosh, there's a real...
It's very simple.
I mentioned it as a light bit of banter, and suddenly the tone has taken a very, very dark tone.
This must be fed back.
Oh, gosh. Oh, dear. JVS isn't happy, everybody! Quick, let's evacuate the building. He's going to kick off again. How are you this morning?
Well, I'm all right, thanks. How are you?
Where's the sunshine gone?
Oh, it's gone, isn't it?
Yeah, it was raining very loudly last night.
Was it?
Very loudly, yes.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh.
I was asleep.
Ever had an animal in your house or creature that didn't belong there?
Yes. I had a blue tit flew through my window last summer. My cat got it.
Oh, gosh. Really?
Yes. It was. He's a house cat, so he's never been in front of a bird before.
Yeah.
And he thought all of his Christmases had come at once when the thing flew in through the window.
Did he kill it?
No, he had it flat on its back on the kitchen floor and was kind of punching it round the face.
Yeah.
So I got it out the kitchen window and it flew away.
Yeah, well, it died shortly after because of shock.
Oh.
Yeah, very weak hearts, tiny hearts.
I did notice as I kind of, launched it from the kitchen window, it did kind of drop a bit.
Yeah, that's not flying.
Oh.
That's dropping. That's dying on the way down.
Oh.
My cat was messing around with a mouse at 2:30 in the morning. And it killed the mouse, and the mouse was on the stairs, and I thought, I should clear this up before my boys get up. Touch the mouse, it moved, it wasn't dead!
I saw your tweet. Disgusting.
It really disgusting.
But I had a friend who used to have a cat that wasn't into mice. He was...
What was the cat into?
Frogs.
Aye.
And used to bring them to the foot of the bed and generally deposit them just under the duvet. So you'd be lying there, and you'd move your foot, and you'd think, ooh, what's that? Half-eaten frog.
Once my cat came in, and it was so obvious she had something in her mouth, and she wouldn't make eye contact with me, and her mouth was like that. And then, Velvet, what's in your mouth? What's in your mouth? And I looked very closely, and there was a tiny little leg. A little green leg. And it was so funny. What she did, she put her head down on the floor, rested her chin on the floor, and opened her mouth, and out hopped a little frog. And I lived in this flat that had a really long corridor with kind of rooms off the corridor. And I literally had to chase this frog with a saucepan down the corridor. And every time I went to catch it, it would jump away. Until eventually I managed to get it. I got a frog under a saucepan.
Oh, thank goodness. So you had the saucepan was kind of opening.
I thought
you were trying to smash it, squash it to death.
Oh, no, imagine the carnage.
Oh, my word.
No, I was trying to catch it, but then I've got a frog underneath the saucepan, and I was there for ages going,
you can't really put a piece of paper.
What do you do? Oh, it's horrible. I hate things like that. Anyway, what's on your show today?
Well, I like this speed camera story.
Yeah.
On the big phone in this morning, I'm asking, are the Speed Watch team helpful citizens or annoying vigilantes?
Here we go.
Bedfordshire Police, they're training local people to catch speeding drivers. The Speed Watch scheme's already underway in Luton, and last weekend, 40 people attended training in Shefford, ready for deployment across the county.
Wow.
Volunteers stand next to the smiley or sad face speed displays, and if you're doing over 35 miles an hour, they'll send your number plate to the police. The police say that you'll get a letter first time, then if you do it again, you get a second letter. Do it a third time, further action.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Tasering? Not sure.
I don't think it's tasering, no. I don't think tasers are involved in this story at all.
The police say it's about empowering communities and not about cost-cutting. Well, I want to hear your views from 9 on this today. Are the Speed Watch team helpful citizens or annoying vigilantes? Perhaps you think it's a brilliant idea. Perhaps you... so I have to be honest with you, the idea does quite appeal.
Oh, this is why I think it's a bad idea, because people like you will get involved.
What? Why?
And if I have a beef with you, and sometimes we do, you'll just write down my number plate and just send it off, and I'll have no comeback.
Do you know that hadn't even crossed my...
You're so naughty.
That Iain Lee, every day, speeds out the car park 60 miles an hour. Yes, what a good idea.
No, what a terrible idea. It does, because I initially thought they had the guns to zap people.
Haven't you? You've never... I've been... I drove into Husbourne Crawley.
Oh, yeah.
They do this in Husbourne Crawley in Bedfordshire. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And you come down the hill... And there's 2 women with a clipboard.
Oh, dear.
And they've got this sign out there that shows your speed, and they're writing down... They didn't write mine down,
of course not. You were within the speed limits.
Yes.
No, you got out and signed a few autographs.
They were writing down everyone else's around me.
Oh, dear.
You see.
Naughty.
So this is already going on. But I wonder whether it's a good idea.
Okay.
Or are they annoying vigilantes? We'll debate it on 08459 455 555 from 9.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is Iain Lee.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
These people should pose there with hairdryers, so at least it feels like they've got speed guns. Point a hairdryer at the road.
Do you think people would... That would cause more accidents, wouldn't it? People will be thinking, what on earth are they pointing a hairdryer for?
Crash. Yes, possibly. Now, Hertfordshire firefighters say they struggled to tackle a recent house fire in St Albans because the owner had been hoarding her belongings. The woman escaped with her life, but according to her neighbours, the amount of stuff she'd stockpiled was an accident waiting to happen. Our reporter Justin Dealey spoke to Carlton Lomax, the environmental compliance manager at St Albans District Council.
Carlton, wow, what a mess. What's your reaction to what you're seeing here?
Well, I mean, obviously, the lady's lucky to be alive, and we're more concerned about the ongoing condition of the house. And so that's our primary concern now, is to try to clear the rubbish away and make sure the house is secure, for the rest of the residents, really.
I mean, hoarding of this nature, is this something that you come across on a regular basis?
In our profession, environmental health, certainly, yes, it's quite common these days. People have got lots of money and possessions, and they collect them, and it gets out of control, really. It's one of those things. People really can't control themselves. They collect too much. They don't know what to get rid of. And we're a consumer society. So, it just builds up, and they live around it, basically.
But something like this is a health and safety risk, not just to the person who lives in that property, but the neighbours as well. Because if there is a fire is going to spread incredibly quickly when you've got that amount of paperwork, that amount of essentially junk.
It is, but it's her own home. It's her own home. She's a private person. She owns her own house. You can do what you like in your own home to a certain extent, as long as you don't bother anybody else. I mean, the fire hazard obviously is a concern, but what's your house like? It's just unfortunate, and luckily she's still alive and being cared for.
And as you say as well, you're often looking at properties with hoarding problems. How do we solve this? We've seen lots of television programmes about it, a lot of people talking about it right now. How do we solve this problem in the UK? Because it is a big problem.
It's very difficult. One of the biggest things is neighbours and friends, to help people. These days people live on their own, they become isolated, and therefore nobody knows about these kind of conditions. And it helps if you get to know your neighbour, get to know your friends, and help them out.
And don't be scared to say, look, you've got too much stuff here, would you like a hand?
Well, you could certainly try, can't you?
Well, it's Justin Dealey speaking to Carlton Lomax from St Albans District Council. Simon Brown is from Herts Fire Service. Simon, you've launched Hoarders Week. Well, what exactly is Hoarders Week?
Good morning, Ian. Yes, as you say, a Hoarders Week basically designed to raise awareness of some of the risks associated with hoarding behaviour. As Carlton alluded to just now, this is quite a complicated issue. It's not just a question of asking people to keep their homes tidy and clear. This is an issue for people. It's a mental health issue, and we need to work very closely with partners to try and address the problem.
What kind of issues does hoarding cause the fire service?
Well, it's not just the fire service. It increases the risk, not only for the occupier, but for our crews and indeed the neighbours, the neighbouring properties. So, for example, usually we find access and egress is very much restricted. Our crews on this particular incident had problems even accessing the property to find the fire in the property. Clearly, the individual in the house is very much at risk if their access route is blocked or their exit route is blocked. And clearly, the fire loading, normally we would expect a room fire to give out what we would call between 2 and 5 megawatts of heat. But when you put all this combustible material in a room, the fire is much, much larger, much, much more difficult to put out.
What help is there available for hoarders? Because it isn't just, hey, they got a load of junk in their house. It's a mental illness, isn't it?
Absolutely, and this is the issue that we're trying to raise. To you and I, we may think it's just clutter and rubbish. To the individual involved, these are all personal belongings. They're all very valuable, and they find it extremely difficult to discard. The way we can deal with it is as Carlton alluded to, we work together with partners and potentially family and friends to try and agree a sort of a progressive approach to removing the clutter. So that is basically one step at a time. We do it with the individual, not to them. So the last thing we should be doing is doing a rapid clear out, because rest assured, after a few weeks or months, the clutter will reappear. So it is quite a complicated issue.
Simon, some of the people on our Facebook page today have said that we shouldn't be talking about this. We shouldn't be posting pictures of the terrible fire that happened recently, because we're kind of pointing at the lunatics, to use their words. What would you say to that?
No, and I have some, I agree with some of that. This was an extremely distressing incident for the lady involved, and so clearly we're not here to cast judgment. That's the last thing we should be doing. But we do have, we can deal with this if we do it the right way. And I say sometimes that may be working with the GP, the local authority, but it's certainly got to be done with the permission of the actual householder. As Carlton alluded to, this is someone's home. Every Englishman's home is their castle. We don't have laws to actually allow us to seek access and clear these properties, but we know from history that if we do work with the individual, we can make an improvement.
Simon, best of luck with it. Thanks for your time this morning. Simon Brown from Herts Fire Service, which has launched Hoarders Week. It's BBC Three Counties Radio. Let's get the travel news now.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
The Great North Road still looking slow, heading southbound just before the Black Cat roundabout. In Stevenage, one lane is still closed. That's on Hitchin Road, and that's between Lister Hospital roundabout and Gunnelswood Road. There was an accident that happened there a little earlier on. The M25 on cameras looking heavy, heading clockwise between junction 24 Potters Bar and junction 25 for Enfield. That's as you head through the roadworks area. And in Borehamwood, rather slow moving on the Barnet bypass, heading southbound between Stirling Corner and Mill Hill Circus. And also the A41 London bound, that's looking heavy between the Hemel Hempstead turnoff and also junction 20 for Kings Langley. No reported problems on the trains. Nicola Richards, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Across beds, hearts and bugs.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's 8:30. I'm Simon Oxley. Police in Bedfordshire are defending the use of volunteers to carry out speed checks in their local area. The Alliance of British Drivers has described it as vigilante action, but Chief Inspector Neil Waring told this programme there is a code of conduct for volunteers. Search teams looking for 4 British sailors who've been missing in the Atlantic for almost a week say they've seen debris close to where the yacht went missing. Neighbours of a St Albans woman who was injured after a fire broke out in her home say it was an accident waiting to happen. Firefighters struggled to get into the property in Upper Culver Road yesterday morning because of the amount of belongings she'd hoarded.
Three Counties Sports.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Practice starts this morning ahead of Sunday's Monaco Grand Prix. Hertfordshire's Lewis Hamilton leads the Drivers' Championship by 3 points after winning the last 4 races.
To be honest, I've not really thought about those 3 points at all since I left the last race. The most important thing to me is that I'm leading at the end, so for me it's irrelevant at the moment. But it is good that we've got momentum. We've had some wins. You can't win them all, which I'm fully aware of, even though I'm trying. And this weekend's going to be interesting.
The former Watford manager Gianfranco Zola has confirmed his interest in the vacancy at Norwich. Another former Watford manager, Malky Mackay, is also being strongly linked with the job at Carrow Road. England have won a football tournament on penalties. England's under-17s beat the Netherlands 4-1 in a shootout after a 1-1 draw in the final of the European Under-17 Championships in Malta. And former Stevenage striker Jordan Burrow has joined conference side Lincoln after being released by the Borough. England's cricketers start a 5-match one-day series against Sri Lanka at the Oval this afternoon. The day-night match starts at 1 o'clock. So have Alistair Cook and his team recovered from the nightmare in Australia?
Yeah, I think so. It still hurts when you think about what we went through, but a sportsman has a very strange way of always looking forward. Of course, you have to look at areas where you think you could have done things differently or improve, but then also you park it and go, well, that's gone now. There's nothing I can do about it. It's irrelevant now. It's all about playing Sri Lanka. It might be quite cliched of me to say it, but it's true. As a sportsman, you always look forward.
And golf's PGA Championship starts at Wentworth today. Woburns Ian Poulter is set to play despite a back injury. BBC Three Counties News and Sport. The next full bulletin is at 9.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is Iain Lee.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Let's go to Darren in Hamel.
Good morning.
Morning, Darren.
What
have you got
first
for us?
of all, I'm not a hoarder, because I know you're accusing me of being a hoarder as soon as I say what I'm going to say, but basically it's quite riled me, because the next thing it'll be like, people shouldn't be fat because it's more difficult to get a fat person out of the house than a thin person, and where do you draw the line? And someone that smokes in a house is more liable to have a fire than someone that doesn't smoke. It's their own home. If they hoard stuff, and they may well be ill, they may not be ill, they may just like collecting stuff like that guy earlier on with the radios, but the point is, it's their own home. They're not affecting anyone else.
What do you collect, Darren?
What do I collect? I collect pebbles off the beaches, but, you know, I know that's where you're going to come from, Ian. I love your show because you say what you think and you're not afraid to say it, and that's a good thing in a person. It's just to get your opinion out there and have a discussion about it. But I just think it's picking on people, really.
Sometimes I say what my producer thinks, if I'm completely honest. Why do you collect pebbles?
I don't really, but I know you pick up on that.
Okay,
sorry.
Okay. But I suppose if it's potentially posing a risk to the neighbours, then that can be a problem, can't it?
I take your point. Yeah, there may be an issue for neighbours. That may be a concern, and maybe she needs to put a fire alarm system in there or smoke detectors, that sort of thing, possibly. But a fair call on that one. I don't know the house she lives in, maybe detached, semi-detached, or whatever. But I think just to generalise and say because someone's using or collecting a lot of stuff, I think that's wrong. I think it's the wrong way to approach it. Personally, it's just my opinion. Maybe wrong.
Well, should we not? Who knows what's right and wrong in this? Should we not, though? Because it is a mental illness, should we not be aiming to help these people?
Well, I mean, where do you draw the line? Who else do you help? Do you help fat people that I say fat are larger people? Perhaps I should be saying it in that way. I don't know. I mean, it's people that are larger should be. And at what size do you start to help people? Because a person that's large wasn't that large originally. They started off the same size as most of us, give or take a few pounds. So, you know, what point do you help people?
All right, OK. What about, and we've heard stories today where it's affecting children, where children are living with parents or a parent who Kath was telling us a story about she knows someone whose kids have to sleep on the sofa because there is so much stuff in the house. Do we get involved in that situation?
It's an interesting point, and again, I think it's a point that we should debate, and I think my personal opinion...
Let's debate it.
Well, indeed. I mean, how long have we got? But I think personally...
25 minutes.
Fantastic. I can be about 24 minutes if you like. I'll try and keep it tight. The thing is, with kids, you need to give kids the best chance in life, really, as you can. But at the same time, it's a fine line because do you want the state, as it were, interfering too much? But at the same time, the kids have got to have a fair chance, I think, because the kids don't get a choice, and that's the thing. If you're adults can choose. But the same with smoking. A kid's in a car, someone's smoking in the car. The kids don't get a choice.
In the situation where kids are being forced to sleep on a sofa because their parents are hoarding, then yes, I would like to see the state get involved because that's unfair on the kids, isn't it?
I agree with that. Yeah, but how do you police it? I mean, I've just driven past about 6 people this morning. I drove past a coach full of people, and the coach driver's on the mobile phone. It's shocking. That was up near Maylands Avenue there, just going along. You know, and
that's very naughty. Yeah,
it's shocking. It was on the other side of the road. I'd have done something about it if I could, but it's not right. But there's no one policing it, and it's the same with this. You know, we can discuss it all you like, but unless there's some sort of policing in place or some sort of action taken, same as the speeding on these people speeding, they'll get a letter from the police and whoopie-doo, and that's the end of it. You know, it's crazy. You need to get more police out there if that's what you want to do, and they're not on the roads. As long as the speed cameras are there taking photographs of people that go past the speed camera fast, never mind the ones that are blocking the roads because they just stop where they feel like it. It's shocking.
Darren, thank you very much indeed. And seriously, you should start collecting pebbles. Sounds like a good... Some of them are beautiful. Sarah's in Short Crendon. Morning, Sarah.
It's Long Crendon.
Long Crendon, sorry. Kelly, why have you written Short Crendon on my screen? You know I read whatever's in front of me.
Banter.
It's not Bants.
Anchorman banter.
It's not Anchorman Bants, it's something Bants. Sorry, Sarah in Short... Long Crendon, yes.
That's quite all right.
Yes, what have you got for us?
Yes, this hoarding... obsessive compulsive, whatever. I mean, you're right. It is absolutely a mental condition. We have had a friend, David, who was my husband's best friend. They'd known each other since they were sort of newborns. David was 7 days older than my husband, and David started collecting when he was a little kid. It was first of all he used to collect his scout badges and pebbles and little badges he'd got when he'd gone to the seaside with his parents, and it kind of grew, and then he started getting Beatles memorabilia and very thin guitars, and then it was, I mean, you name it, he collected it, to the point that his house was pretty much inaccessible. He lived in a flat, he lived on the top floor, which meant that he had the attic as well. The attic was just groaning with stuff, and sadly, incredibly sadly, David killed himself 2 years ago in August. He was 43 because he could no longer cope with this collecting habit. He had been for treatment, for counselling, you name it, he'd done it, and it just took absolute control of him.
Gosh. And what did you, as friends, say to David? Did you point it out? Was he aware of the situation?
He was very aware of the situation. I mean, David had other psychological issues as well. I mean, he was a troubled man, and most people kind of ran for the hills when he first mentioned the words depression. We didn't. We stuck because my husband suffers from depression, so we kind of understood it and got it. And we did everything we could. We even said to him, "Come and live with us. You know, let's get you away from there. Let's get you away from the situation. We live in a tiny little house, but we can convert the dining room into a bed sit for you, so you can be with the family when you want to be. But when you want your own space, you can have your own space." We tried everything. Yeah. We were the ones who raised the alarm because we hadn't heard from him.
Oh dear. Well, Sarah, thank you very much indeed. It's just shows you how serious this can be. Craig's in Walesbury. Good morning, Craig.
Good morning, Ian. How are you?
Good, thank you. What have you got for us?
Okay, a couple of things. First of all, I work for ERS Environmental. We do a lot of unusual animals and things like that in people's houses. You know, pest control, that sort of thing. And one of the most unusual ones that we got called to was a block of flats. We called out by the Housing Association. Block of flats in Bedford. An old lady in the ground floor flat was stood washing up. If you can imagine this, she's washing up at the sink, looking out the window. To the left of her is a boiler. Yeah. And out of the bottom of this boiler fell a snake.
Oh, no.
Right onto her work surface. And she calmly walked through and phoned up Housing Association, and we get called in. She described the snake, which was actually, she described a corn snake. So it was probably a pet released by somebody that had either left or whatever.
Yeah.
Found its way through all the pipework and down into her flat. Well, we're searching the property because we have to make sure it's still not in the property, and I've got a team of guys in with me. Yeah. The only place left to that we hadn't searched was in the living room where her bed was, and it was one of these beds, and all the covers came right down to the floor.
Yeah.
You know, big bedspread thing.
Oh no! Where's
so
this
we knew it must have been in there, and as I lifted the covers, unbeknown to me, my guys had been out and bought a brightly coloured rubber snake. And they had launched it from the other side of the bed.
Beautiful.
As I'd lifted these bed covers, and I can tell you, I nearly wet myself.
Did you scream like a baby?
I cried like a baby.
That is why working with men is the best thing in the world.
Absolutely.
That's what blokes do, is they take great pleasure out of seeing one of their colleagues scared and weeping like a baby. Girls don't do that. Girls don't do that. Girls are all nice and touchy-feely. Blokes like to see other blokes cry.
Yep. We did, and they put me through that, and we still talk about it now because it was so funny at the time. But for they thought it was funny, I didn't.
Excellent stuff. Thank you very much indeed. That's what it's all about, Kelly Betts.
Well, I'd happily do something to make you cry.
You couldn't though. You couldn't because you couldn't because it's not within you as a woman to do it. Men can easily. They've got no morals, no qualms about making another man cry. I can make Scoins cry. I've made Scoins cry, and it was a joy to see. It really was one of the highlights of my life. You two couldn't do it because you are life givers, not life takers. You have wombs. And it's a simple biological fact.
I think if we plot together,
we take you down to Chinatown.
Yeah, man.
Oh, I'm quite peckish. Dim sum?
Dim something.
Dear, rude. Very rude. Steve's in Pinkball. Morning, Steve.
Hey, mate. I've got to say it. You've got to remember the old saying, a woman scorned, haven't you?
Woman scorned is a woman reborn or something, isn't it?
Yeah, I tell you, no, never upset a woman, mate. That's the worstest thing to do.
Yeah, I could. These two are like little pussycats, Steve. I've got them in the palm of my hand. They will do whatever I say.
You've got a bruised hand, and they've probably done it to you. There'll be nails through there next time.
Yeah, I'm getting a look from both the girls on the team, and I've not seen this look before, ladies. What does that mean?
We normally do it behind your back.
What? Mm-hmm. How rude. Yeah, Steve, they're pussycats. I'll deal with them later. I'll buy them some flowers, and it'll be fine. I'll buy one of them some flowers, one of them a box of chocolates, it'll be fine.
Here's a monkey, take yourself down to West End, buy yourself something gorgeous.
Second-hand ones, Abby, come out of a charity shop.
Exactly, Stephen, exactly. What have you got for us? Are you a hoarder?
No, you was on about things, like animals or creatures that you've had in your body earlier on.
Oh, well, it started off creatures that have been in your home that didn't belong there, and then we threw it out there, creatures you've had in your body that didn't belong there. What have you got, Steve?
I had a tick on my tit.
I don't think we can say one of those words on the radio.
All right, in threepenny bit, how's that?
He had a tick on his threepenny bits.
Yeah.
I bet that smarted. What on earth was it doing there?
Well, we was at Thames Show, and I've got a mate who had some sheep there and that, and I was talking. Anyway, we got home from the show, and I felt something bite. So anyway, I lifted my shirt, and there was this tick, and I got rid of it though easy.
How did you get rid of it? Because I had a friend, Adam Buxton, the comedian, who went camping, and he came back and he showed us his legs. What's that face for, Kath?
Name dropping.
Well,
just
why
pick
not?
it up for you.
It's the story. It's relevant to the story. He came back and he'd been camping and he slept in like a woods, and his leg was covered in ticks and his body was covered in ticks, and he had to kind of burn them off.
This thing's iodine. Just put the bottle of iodine over the top of them, and they all shrivel up and that.
Well, Steve, I'm glad you've cleared that up, and apologies if anyone was offended by
Adam Buxton.
No, not by my name dropping. It made the story pertinent, and it makes me look cool.
Yeah, comedian Adam Buxton likes you.
Yeah, he's a friend of mine.
Enough to tell you about his tick infestation.
I haven't got his phone number, but that's surely a mishap and an oversight on his part. Kels?
I can give it to him now.
What?
078.
No, for goodness sake, what are you doing that for?
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
The M1 heading northbound rather heavy at the moment between junction 12 for Flitwick and junction 13 for Bedford. In Stevenage, still one lane closed on Hitchin Road. That's between the Lister Hospital roundabout and Gunnelswood Road because of an accident. The M25 heading clockwise rather slow on camera between junction 24 Potters Bar and junction 25 for Enfield, heading through the roadworks area there. Slow moving in Borehamwood on the Barnet bypass between Stelling Corner and Mill Hill Circus, and also looking very slow on the A10. It's queuing, and that's heading southbound between Cambridge Road and Enfield. And taking a look at the train, so far no reported problems or delays. Nicola Richards, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much. It's 8:46. It's Thursday the 22nd of May. I'm Iain Lee, and these are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. Police in Bedfordshire are defending the use of volunteers to carry out speed checks in their local area. The Alliance of British Drivers has described it as vigilante action. A fire service campaign in Hertfordshire entitled Hoarders Week has coincided with a blaze in St Albans, where firefighters struggle to get into the house because of the amount of property piled up there. And search teams looking for 4 British sailors who've been missing in the Atlantic for almost a week say they've seen debris close to where the yacht went missing. Let's get the weather now. Here's Wendy.
Beds, Herts and Bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning. We had about half an inch of rain overnight last night. It's all moved away from us now. We do have a fair amount of cloud left behind, but there's a little bit of brightness hinting at us through the cloud. We are going to have some heavy showers, though, as we go through the day today, from lunchtime onwards, I suspect, and that means the Met Office has us covered at the moment by a yellow weather warning, because some of those showers are likely to be on the heavy side, maybe with some thunder, and they will add to the rainfall totals that we had overnight last night. So we've got some large puddles to contend with already, and that's not going to help. Hopefully between these showers we'll have some sunshine, and that will help to lift the temperature into the top teens. I think we'll be looking at 18 degrees in Luton today. And then as we go through the evening and overnight, we're still at the risk of getting 1 or 2 of these showers, so don't put the brolly away just yet. We will have temperatures down to about 11 degrees overnight, but the showers will be fizzling out, so you'll probably get less use out of the brolly tomorrow. The showers will be isolated, much drier day, and temperatures will pick up to about 18 degrees, 19 degrees, something like that. There will be some sunny spells throughout tomorrow afternoon as well. The showers return, though, for Saturday. Unfortunately, it will be all in all a cooler day with highs of 15 or 16 degrees. Fewer showers around on Sunday, largely dry by Monday, so it's gradually improving and becoming a little bit warmer as we go through the bank holiday weekend. That's it for now.
Every weekday morning.
My show's called The JVS Show, 9 o'clock in the morning on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Jonathan Vernon Smith.
I deal with the consumer problems that affect people all over Beds, Herts and Bucks.
And I said, well, I didn't come all this way to be looking at a broken down hotel.
Those companies, those councils, those organisations that are letting people down.
This guy turned around and said to me that they're not prepared to pay me, and I said, so you're forcing me to take action. And he said, good luck, and put the phone down on me.
I get my teeth into them.
Oh, Jonathan, I'll start
crying soon. We don't know what to do.
Deal with them and hopefully get results for you, the consumers.
And it got so convoluted, I thought there's only one person who can sort this out.
The JVS Show on BBC Three Counties Radio.
What are all these texts we're getting? Eric from Duxford. The band in 1968 was Gary Puckett and the Union Gap with Young Girl. I mean, it's...
It was, though.
It was.
It was.
Was that the right answer?
Yeah, they did sing that.
Once, another radio station, one of my favourite things I've ever done, we had a woman who phoned up, thinking she was phoning up BBC London, it was LBC, and she says, I want to enter the Mystery Voice competition. And we went, all right, fine, OK, we'll do it. And we had a clip of Duncan Bannatyne saying, I'm Duncan Bannatyne, right? It's him saying it.
Why did he say it like that?
Because that's his voice. He's a Scotch. And we played it to her. And it's literally 5 minutes. It's on YouTube. It's 5 minutes of I'm Duncan Bannatyne. No, I don't know who it is. Have another listen. I'm Duncan Bannatyne. I've got no idea who it is. I'm sorry. Have a listen. It's Duncan Bannatyne. I'm Duncan Bannatyne. It just goes on for ages and ages and ages.
Good story.
Good story.
Hey, guys, if I thought you meant that, I wouldn't be so angry. Speaking of angry, what's them wheeling? Typing that on the screen, Kelly. I read what's there. Justin.
Morning, boss. Great story.
Oh, it's a good story.
It's a great story.
I'm going to send you all the link. Did you open the link I sent you the other day, Catherine?
I never open your links.
Open the link I sent you. I sent you a funny link. It's about rings.
Oh, yeah, I did open that one.
That was funny, wasn't it?
Yeah. And again, great story.
Oh,
great
mate.
Story.
Right, listen. I have come up with a brilliant topic, OK?
Yes.
Shame you've hidden it underneath a rubbish title.
Maybe you could hide under
did that come out?
Look, I like when you cross your arms because you think you're being like all feisty. All you need is a rolling pin and a fag on, and you'll be the perfect northern woman. Now, Justin.
Yes, boss.
The topic was, and it's a great one. Have you ever had a creature in your home that didn't belong to be there?
Yes.
Perfect, wonderful. Shush. Good question. Kath came up with animal invaders.
No, wrong. Intruders.
Animal invaders. Animal intruders. Our kid called me now. I'm mad for it.
I did hear invaders first.
Okay.
That's what I went with, by the way.
So I think Ida's brilliant and better than his.
You're embarrassing yourself, love. So we sent you out to see which was the best topic.
Yes, absolutely.
And you've been out.
Oh, Ian.
Lesby Avenue.
I've come up with the goods on this one.
Good
I've
lad.
been to Slip End in Bedfordshire this morning.
Well, Slip End sounds a bit rude, doesn't it?
It does a bit,
It does
yeah.
a little bit. A little bit naughty.
So, 2 animal phone-ins.
Yep.
Your one and Catherine's one as well. I kicked off with your one. Now, my initial thought was it was a bit wordy.
Yep.
Creatures that have been inside your home that weren't invited. Ian, it didn't go particularly well. Here's what happened. John, Slip End. It's beautiful. How are you today?
Slip End.
Oh, not too bad. Go on.
Lovely. Creatures that have been inside your home that weren't invited.
What's that? Creatures. Whatever, flies and so and so and so and so.
It's not going very well, this, is it? Should we leave it here, John?
Yeah, please, yeah.
Madam, we just want to know about the creatures that have been inside your home that weren't invited.
No, I'm sorry, I'm busy at the minute.
Thank you. Morning, sir. The creatures that have been inside your home that weren't invited.
Ta-da.
Sorry, boss.
All
that
right.
was as good as it got this morning.
Okay, so
bit
that was
wordy,
mine.
wordy, you know.
Yeah.
Can always improve, though. Feedback for the future.
Okay, well, well, I'm assuming Kath's went even worse then.
Well, as soon as I mentioned animal invaders, people that they stopped what they were doing, their faces just lit up, and the stories they just rolled and rolled. When I mentioned animal invaders, Ian, here's what happened.
We had a pigeon come in the pet shop, it's Slip End Pet Shop, flew round and then sat on the grooming table and looked at the dog and just sat there and then decided to just flow back out again of his own accord.
What about the dog?
The dog just sat there and looked at him. Amazement.
And Neil, animal invaders.
Yes.
What's your story, boss?
I love animals, but sometimes
we all do.
Sometimes nighttime in summertime, windows are open and cats comes in our house.
Cats or cat?
Cat. So only black one coming at present in our house, right? Nighttime, how can I feel we are sleeping? Right? Sometimes we found eyes are shining. What's that? My kid got scared. Then we found a cat inside the house.
So you actually asleep at night, and this cat decides to come through the window and sleep on your bed?
Yeah.
That's scary, isn't it?
Sometimes we jumped. Okay, what's that? Okay, right? And we found a cat.
When was the last time he actually came in then?
2 weeks ago.
Spiders with very fast little legs.
How fast are we talking here?
Faster than I'd like them to be.
Yeah. Connor, animal invaders, your eyes have lit up with this one. You had a fox in your home. What on earth happened?
I was about to get into bed and then I heard a scratch on the door downstairs. So I went downstairs and opened the door and there was a fox. So I
got some food, fed the fox, and then it went away.
So the fox actually came into your home?
Yes, for about a minute.
Are you sure this was a fox and not a cat?
Yes, I was sure.
And this fox was friendly?
Surprisingly, yes.
Well, I don't get it, because whenever I see a fox, you get about 50 yards away from them and they run away. You're telling me a fox was knocking at your door and he came in, he accepted the food, and then left?
Yep, that's what happened. Yep. It didn't attack me at first, so I thought it'd be okay, so I grabbed some food and fed it.
What did you feed it?
I gave it a couple of biscuits.
Should have gone out to get a kernel for him, shouldn't you?
Probably, yeah.
There you go.
What are you saying? That all you had to say was animal invaders,
and straight away
there was
their faces lit up.
All right, there was no explanation off mic. You didn't say animal invaders. What I mean by that is creatures that have been in your home that didn't belong there.
You are more than willing to go through my tapes this morning, Ian. I could have been here for the next 30 minutes, eating up into the JBS phone in with this, because people were just going crazy for it, going nuts for it.
Ian, we could talk about this off air if you like, because I think we just generally need to sharpen up your phone-ins.
He just didn't really hit the spot. You know, my initial feeling was it was a bit wordy, and when I explained what was going on, it was like, what? Who? They just didn't get it.
We could definitely get more great stories.
It's got to sharpen up the
If we just sharpen it up. I think, the fox story was great, and that's the golden call. We should have said, pest with pastries, call me now.
You're finding this amusing? You're amusing yourself, but you can't. You're having a good laugh, are you?
To be honest, I'm on the verge of tears because I'm so frustrated. I keep telling you how to do this and you won't listen. Listen.
To be fair, not all of them work, like car confusion. I mean, that one for me on the streets. Right. That didn't work on the streets, but today, clearly, there you go, it did.
OK, you're all idiots. Sophie's on the line. Morning, Sophie.
Good morning.
I'm really sorry you have to listen to this rubbish. And by rubbish, I mean the contributions of Catherine Boyle, Justin Dealey, and the other one, whose name I don't even remember.
It's all right. You've woken me up. You're better than a coffee.
Hey. Oh, yes, please. White wine should. Sophie, what have you got for us?
Well, two things. First of all, the animal situation.
Yeah.
I was on the toilet and mid-tinkle...
Sorry?
Mid-tinkle.
You did say that, didn't you? Yeah.
I did.
Yes.
Out of the corner of my right eye, I thought, what's that on the floor? It was a giant pigeon.
A giant pigeon? You say it wasn't just a normal one? How big was it? The size of a baby? A toddler?
It'd obviously eaten it. It had a lovely breakfast.
Big fat pig?
I leapt off the loo mid-tinkle.
Oh, no.
What else could I do? And my cat had brought it in. So I left it there till my husband got home, and I carried on in the downstairs toilet.
Oh, no. You dirty, dirty Sophie.
Well, thank God it was a number one.
Yeah, flipping heck. Again, this show is cyclical. We're ending at pretty much how we started, by talking about bums. Bums.
No, I know. Totally.
I believe you have also there's some hoarding in your family.
Yeah, I mean, this is a bit sad.
I know. I'm trying to make a sensitive leap from you doing a wee-wee on the floor to where this is going.
Maybe I should have ended with that one and not this one. But...
No, go on. We can do a quantum leap. Go on.
Well, my father-in-law is at that stage in life, and I think a lot of people are at this stage when they hoard. He's got dementia, and he has this fascination with buying 3 of everything. And when we go down to Wales, we have to constantly clear. And then the next time we go down, the cupboards are full. And I'm really aware that when he pops his clogs, all of that stuff's got to be cleared. And that's going to be a horrific experience. And I wrote a song called Self-Storage on my album that I released last year.
Hang on a second, Sophie. We've gone from you doing a tinkle on the floor, then we've gone to the very sad story about your father-in-law who's ill and it's hoarding, and then you've slipped in a plug for your record as well.
I'm keeping you on your toes.
This is unbelievable. I can't believe this. You're worse than Richard Branson when it comes to self-publicity.
I'm not a virgin, though.
Oh, good. Tutty bye. Unbelievable.
Smut.
Filthy. I liked her, though. It's good. We'll have her on again. Disappointed in your behaviour.
Oh, really?
No, I genuinely...
Interesting you see it that way.
No. I am genuinely... This isn't a piece, and we will talk about this afterwards, because I'm genuinely disappointed in your behaviour. I think you've shown massive disrespect and impudence.
What about my behaviour?
Impotence?
No, impudence is right. That's what I was going for.
Impudence is good. See, you're doing it now, mate. And, Kels, you're guilty by association. Exactly. So, yeah. Don't do the puppy dog eyes. Yes, Kelly Betts.
I think you should give me a compliment.
You've not messed up as much as you normally do.
Thank you.
There we go. That's the best I can do.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
In Kempston, we've just had a call in from Stephen Sunale that Elstow Road is closed in both directions. Now, there's been an accident there between Spring Road and Amphill Road, so thank you for calling in. The M1 heading northbound's very heavy between junction 12 for Flitwick and junction 13 for Bedford. And the M25 heading clockwise is a lane closed at the moment between junction 23, the A1M, and also junction 24 for Potter's Bar. That's due to a broken down vehicle. Also very slow heading anti-clockwise on the M25 between junction 21, the M1, and junction 16, the M40. And in Borehamwood, slow moving on the Barnet bypass between Stirling Corner and Mill Hill Circus. That's the latest.
You can do your name.
Nicola Richards.
Thank you very much indeed. Catherine, what have you got?
Twitter response to my phone in. Lorraine says, on holiday in Cornwall, a pony stuck its head through the shower room window and stole my towel off the rail.
What a great example of a creature being in your house that didn't belong there.
Local and vocal across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Iain. Good morning. Welcome to the JVS show. I'm Jonathan Vernon Smith. Can't remember what day it is. What is it? Thursday? Must be Thursday by now. It's 9 o'clock. It's the JVS show. Good morning. Coming up on today.